Chapter 464. At noon, Wang Haoran was in the villa. After eating the food cooked by Feng Anna, he walked to school. On the way, he suddenly received a call from Zhenli. "Dear son, remember to come back for dinner tonight." After the call was connected, Zhenli said to Wang Haoran, "Mom, why did you suddenly ask me to come home for dinner?" Wang Haoran didn't think much and asked subconsciously, "It's Mom's birthday today. Did you forget?" Zhenli was stunned. Wang Haoran searched his memory and found that it was indeed Zhenli's birthday today. He couldn't help but feel embarrassed. "Mom, how could I forget your birthday? I've already prepared the gift. I was going to sneak it home and give it to you as a surprise." Wang Haoran immediately tried to salvage the situation. "My dear son is so obedient." Zhenli believed him and praised him. Then she thought of something and said, "If you want, you can ask Wei Wei to come over. I haven't given her the gift yet. She may have a class in the evening. I don't know if she's free. I'll ask her later." Wang Haoran said ambiguously. Although Qiu Qianwei was a music professor at Qingling University, she had more free time than Lu Yu and Ji Shuiyao. She didn't have many classes in the day, so how could she have classes in the evening? Moreover, even if Qiu Qianwei had classes, she would definitely drop the class when she heard Zhenli's invitation. However, Wang Haoran was worried about getting into trouble, so he said that to Zhenli. "Mom, who are the guests you invited?" Wang Haoran asked. "Just some friends that I'm pretty close with, including Tang Bingyun." Wang Haoran asked the key point. "Of course, including her," Zhenli responded and sighed in surprise. "I don't know why, but Tang Bingyun's attitude towards me is surprisingly good. You should know that I want to buy a new piece of jade jewelry as a gift for Vivian. I picked a top-grade jade necklace that costs 5 million, but Tang Bingyun actually gave me a 10% discount. Maybe the value of the jade necklace wasn't high in the first place. The cost was only 500,000. She probably sold it to you at cost price." Wang Haoran was well aware, but he couldn't tell Zhenli. "I still have a good eye. The cost of the jade necklace is definitely more than 500,000. It's at least 3 million, Zhenli said with certainty. "Other than Tang Bingyun, who else did you invite? Does that include Uncle Qin?" Wang Haoran did not want to continue talking about this topic, so he changed the topic and asked about other things. "Yes, I invited him too," Zhenli said. "Will Uncle Qin bring his daughter, Qin Yunhan?" Wang Haoran had a bad feeling. Qin Kai, Wang Xiang, and Zhenli were friends and had been in contact with each other for a long time. "I just talked to him on the phone. He specifically said that he would bring his daughter over," Zhenli replied. Wang Haoran felt his scalp tingle when he heard that. Bringing Qiu Qianwei to Zhenli's birthday party, and then Zhenli would give Qiu Qianwei a gift, while Tang Bingyun and Qin Yunhan would watch from the side. Just thinking about this scene made his hair stand on end. At this time, not far from Wang Haoran, a commercial car drove by. From the open window, there was a beautiful face looking at the scenery passing by. She also saw Wang Haoran, who was on the phone by the roadside. "Ding! Congratulations to the host for being so lucky to meet the female lead song Zhi Hui for the first time. Super Peach Blossom Halo has triggered the second grade love at first sight effect. Ding! The female lead song Zhi Hui's favorability towards the host has increased to 50. Admiration. Ding! The host has influenced the direction of the plot. Received 3,000 villain points. Qin fan protagonist aura minus 150. Host villain aura plus 150. Yeah. While Wang Haoran was in a daze, he suddenly received 3 system notifications. This made him a little dumbfounded. He looked around, searching for the figure of Song Zhihui, but as far as his eyes could see, there were only cars driving by. Among the passers-by, there was not a single beauty. Wang Haoran retracted his gaze. Although he did not see that Song Zhihui, he could roughly guess the situation. That Song Zhihui should have been sitting in a car that drove by just now. She saw him, but he did not see her. This matter also made Wang Haoran understand one thing. That was, the trigger condition for the Super Peach Blossom Halo was that the female lead only needed to see him, and he did not necessarily need to see the female lead. After figuring this out, Wang Haoran suddenly had an idea. He wanted to post his photos everywhere and cast a net to catch fish. However, after thinking about it, He immediately felt that this was not feasible. The trigger condition for the Super Peach Blossom Halo was first encounter. In other words, the female lead still had to see him in person. "Baby son, why aren't you talking?" Zhen Li's voice came from the phone. "Yes, I'm listening." Wang Haoran responded. "In order to hold a birthday banquet for me, your father spent a lot of money and specially invited an international chef over. What do you want to eat? Tell Mom. Mom will tell you the menu then." "I don't have anything in particular I want to eat. It doesn't matter." Zhenli said. "Really? This is a rare opportunity. This international chef's cooking skills are said to be very good. It's simply amazing. He is also the royal chef for the birthday banquet of the Queen of the Rising Sun City and the Palace Banquet. He was also awarded a knighthood by the Queen. Ordinary people can't invite him, but your father spent a lot of money to invite him. Are you sure you don't want to order a few dishes you want to eat?" "Mom, I really don't have anything in particular I want to eat." Wang Haoran was still thinking about Song Zhihui and worried about Qiu Qianwei and the others crashing. He was not in the mood to order at all. "Okay then." Zhenli did not insist and reminded him, "Remember to come home for dinner tonight." "Sure," Wang Haoran responded. He hung up the phone. In his heart, he was thinking about how to avoid a collision. Qiu Qianwei did not know that today was Zhen Li's birthday. If he did not say it, she would not have other sources to know the news. Therefore, Qiu Qianwei could just keep it a secret. Tang Bingyan had already received the news and an invitation. Qin Yunhan should have also heard the news from Qin Kai. After thinking about it, Wang Haoran first called Qin Yunhan. "Honey, what's the matter?" Qin Yunhan's sweet voice came from the phone. "Skip class. I'll take you to the movies," Wang Haoran said. "Got it." Across the phone, Wang Haoran could feel Qin Yunhan's excitement. Wang Haoran was too lazy to go to school. He informed Lu Yu and asked her to apply for leave on his behalf. Then, he went back to the villa and drove the big Audi out. After that, he went to the road outside the school. Qin Yunhan was dressed in beautiful clothes and had put on beautiful makeup. She was waiting by the roadside, her head looking around. Wang Haoran drove the car and stopped next to her. "Get in." Wang Haoran opened the car window and said to her. Qin Yunhan excitedly got into the front passenger seat. Her face was full of joy. With a trace of doubt, she asked, "Why did you suddenly ask me to go to the movies?" "Guess." Wang Haoran smiled strangely and suddenly stepped on the gas. The Lamborghini turned into a phantom and quickly drove away from this place. Chapter 465. Inside a villa. Feng Anna had just finished her housework and had nothing to do, so she took out her phone to check her WeChat moments. A message from Zhihui attracted Feng Anna's attention. Feng Anna was delighted and immediately made a video call. A few seconds later, someone answered the call. A beautiful woman's face appeared on the screen. Looking at the background, she seemed to be in a car. "Hello, Master," Feng Anna said jokingly. "Anna, I don't want to be called old by you. Just call me Zhihui." The woman on the other side of the phone rolled her eyes. "Didn't I learn cooking from you? It's not wrong to call you Master." Feng Anna laughed. "Then I'll kick you out now." Song Zhihui pretended to be serious. Seeing this, Feng Anna stopped joking. "When did you come back?" 2 or 3 days ago. I was invited by a rich man in Qingling to prepare a birthday party." Song Zhihui said. "Preparing a birthday party for a rich man? Isn't that lowering your social status?" Feng Anna was surprised. "Well, I didn't want to agree, but he gave me too much money and I couldn't control myself." Song Zhihui looked like a little money grubber. "Okay." Feng Anna smiled strangely. "Are you in Hong Kong or somewhere else?" Song Zhihui asked. "In the same city as you are now." "Are you in Qingling too?" "Yes." "That's great. Are you free tomorrow? Come out and meet me. We haven't seen each other for a long time." Song Zhihui hurriedly said. The two of them had met overseas. At that time, Feng Anna was studying abroad to learn cooking and became Song Zhihui's apprentice. The two of them got along very well. They were both friends and teacher. Later on, their relationship got even closer and they became best friends. But after Feng Anna came back, they were far away from each other and didn't have many chances to see each other. Now that they were in the same city, it would be a waste if they didn't see each other. "Yes, we haven't seen each other for a long time. I want to see you too." but I'm working for someone now, and I have to ask for leave. Feng Anna's tone was helpless. Are you kidding? The little princess of the Feng family is working for someone. What kind of work are you working for? Song Zhihui was surprised. Being a nanny. When Feng Anna said this, she only felt ashamed. Don't tease me, okay? Song Zhihui had a look of disbelief. I'm not kidding. I'm serious, Feng Anna said seriously. Song Zhihui saw that Feng Anna looked serious and didn't seem to be lying, so she believed her and asked seriously, what happened? I owe someone money, a lot of money, so much that I will never be able to repay it. The other party said that they wanted me to be a babysitter to pay off the debt. Feng Anna was too ashamed to tell the truth, so she made up a reason. Who are they? Song Zhihui asked with a frown. A rich second generation. His name is Wang Haoran. Feng Anna gave a brief introduction. Wang Haoran. People with this name are indeed all bad things. Song Zhihui said with a snort. Why do I feel that you seem to be very biased against this name? Feng Anna was surprised. Song Zhihui said with resentment. When I was abroad, I met a rich businessman named Wang Haoran. He was fat and ugly. His belly was so big that it looked like a 10-month pregnant woman. This guy actually said that he wanted to keep me. How could I care about such a person? He annoyed me for a long time, and I finally got rid of him. After complaining, she asked Feng Anna curiously, the rich second generation who asked you to be a babysitter to pay off the debt must be very ugly, right? He's not ugly. Although Feng Anna wanted to complain with Song Zhihui, she couldn't go against her conscience. At most, she wouldn't praise him for his good looks. So she replied, Hey, this rich second generation Wang Haoran you mentioned is his father Wang Xiang, and his family owns the Wang's group? Song Zhihui suddenly thought of something. Yes, how did you know? Oh my God. I was invited by this Wang Xiang to prepare a birthday party for his wife. If I had known, I wouldn't have agreed no matter how much money he offered me. Song Zhihui regretted. After pausing for a moment, she suddenly had an idea. Anna, do you think I should put something in the dishes? Ruin the birthday party? Don't make a fuss. Aren't you ruining your own reputation? Don't say no to money. Feng Anna hurriedly dissuaded her. Speaking of which, Wang Haoran saved her life. Of course, she couldn't repay kindness with ingratitude. She even felt grateful to Wang Haoran. Otherwise, she wouldn't have worked so hard as a babysitter to cook. How could she persuade her best friend to ruin Wang Haoran's mother's birthday party? You're right. Song Zhihui wanted to vent for Feng Anna, but she felt that Feng Anna didn't want to, so she immediately gave up the idea. Moreover, earning money from the Wang's family was also a way to vent for her best friend. After all, Wang Xiang did spend a lot of money to invite her. Are you single now? Feng Anna gossiped. I've been single since my mother was born. Song Zhihui pretended to be sad. Do you have someone you like? Feng Anna continued to ask. Hearing that, Song Zhihui couldn't help but think of the handsome man who was making a phone call by the roadside. Her heart couldn't help beating faster. It seems that you have someone you like. What does he do for a living? Is he handsome? Feng Anna saw Song Zhihui's reaction and asked repeatedly. I want to know too. Song Zhihui looked helpless. What's the matter? Feng Anna felt that there must be a story. Do you believe that it's love at first sight? Song Zhihui asked. No. Feng Anna shook her head. I didn't believe it a few minutes ago either. But now I believe it. Song Zhihui was lively and cheerful. Besides, Feng Anna was her best friend, so she didn't hide her feelings. Gosh, how handsome is he? How could he charm a long-legged beauty like you? Feng Anna was shocked. Anyway, he's very handsome. He's totally in my taste. Song Zhihui recalled the scene at that time and showed a trace of infatuation on her pretty face. If there's a chance, I'd really like to meet him, Feng Anna said. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to meet him in the future. Song Zhihui looked worried. Don't worry. Since fate made you fall in love with him at first sight, then fate will definitely let you two meet again. Feng Anna comforted her. Song Zhihui's face was still worried, but it seemed that other than depending on fate, there was nothing else she could do. She could only resign herself to fate. See if you could take a leave of absence. If you can, let me know. Let's meet up tomorrow and go shopping or something. Song Zhihui said. Okay. Feng Anna nodded heavily. She continued to chat with Song Zhihui for a while before ending the video call. At this time, it wasn't time for afternoon classes yet. Feng Anna found Wang Haoran's WeChat friend and sent a video call invitation. Beep. The other party refused. This villa wasn't far from Qingling University. She could vaguely hear the school bell that signaled the end of classes. In the afternoon, Feng Anna calculated the time when classes were over and sent another video call invitation. The other party still refused. Feng Anna didn't dare to disturb him. She planned to wait for Wang Haoran to come back and talk to him about it. On the other side, after Wang Haoran rejected Feng Anna's video call, he continued to work. It wasn't that he didn't want to accept it, but that he didn't have time. After he was done, he called Tang Bingyan. Let's watch a movie. Are you free? After the call went through, Wang Haoran asked with a smile. Tang Bingyan was dealing with work. Originally, she wasn't free, but she still put down what she was doing and accepted the invitation. Time passed quietly, and it was evening. Wang Haoran drove alone, left the couple's hotel, and went to the Wang family's mansion. Chapter 466. A Lamborghini Daniel drove into the open gate of the Wang family's mansion and then stopped in the open space in front of the mansion. The door opened, and Wang Haoran got out of the car. Then he turned to the front passenger seat and took out a bouquet of roses and lilies. In the open space in front of the mansion, there were already some luxury cars, most of which were business cars. Some of the guests who wanted to attend Jin Li's birthday party had already arrived. Wang Haoran walked into the mansion with the bouquet in his hand. Hello, young master. The servants passing by greeted Wang Haoran respectfully when they saw him. Wang Haoran nodded and asked one of the servants where Zhenli was. After getting the response, he went to the living room. In the living room, Zhenli was greeting some friends. Mom, happy birthday. Wang Haoran went straight to her and gave her a bouquet of flowers with a smile on his face. Thank you, my dear son. Zhenli took the flowers and hugged him sideways. The flowers are very beautiful. I like them very much. Although it was just a simple bouquet of flowers, it looked like it was worth a few hundred yuan at most. However, this did not affect the joy in Zhenli's heart. After all, it was a gift from her son. She liked it even if it was an ordinary gift. It's not just flowers. Wang Haoran reminded her with a smile. Zhenli was stunned. Then she seemed to understand. She looked at the bouquet of flowers and found a bank card. She looked puzzled. There is 300 million yuan in it. The password is your birthday. It's a gift for you. Spend it as you wish. Wang Haoran whispered in Zhenli's ear. Zhenli was shocked. However, there were guests here, so she did not ask more. Wang Haoran greeted Zhenli's friends. According to seniority, they were all her uncles and aunts. Among them, there were some familiar faces. He politely greeted these people. With doubts, Zhenli found an excuse to call Wang Haoran out of the reception room. Along the way, Wang Xiang saw them and went over as well. The family of three came to an empty room on the first floor. Son, is there really 100 million in this card? Where did you get so much money? There were no outsiders here, so Zhenli voiced her doubts. His tone was filled with worry. It was as if he was afraid that his son had obtained it through illegal means. I earned it with the pocket money you gave me. Don't worry and use it, Wang Haoran explained. Fearing that Zhenli wouldn't believe him, he opened a stock trading app on his phone and showed his account's earnings. Zhenli and Wang Xiang looked at each other in astonishment. They no longer doubted their son's words. He rejoiced for a while. Zhenli thought of something and went back to the room to take a small box. This is a necklace for Wei Wei. Why didn't you bring her here? Zhenli asked. She has classes in the evening and can't come. She asked me to congratulate you on her behalf. Wang Haoran did not tell Qiu Qianwei at all. Zhenli nodded and handed the small box with the jade necklace in it to Wang Haoran. Help me give this to Wei Wei and see if she likes it. If she doesn't like it, I'll ask Tang Bingyan to exchange it for her. Okay. Wang Haoran took the small box. A ringtone sounded. It was from Zhenli. Zhenli took out her phone, glanced at the caller ID, and answered the call. Sister Zhen, something came up and I can't come to your birthday party. I'm so sorry. Tang Bingyun apologized on the phone. Zhenli heard Tang Bingyun's voice. It sounded a little weak, so she asked, What's wrong? Are you sick? I'm not feeling well, Tang Bingyun replied. What's wrong? Have you seen a doctor? Because of Tang Bingyun's hospitality, Jin Li and Tang Bingyun have been quite close recently. When she heard that Tang Bingyun was not feeling well, she couldn't help but care. It's nothing serious. You don't need to see a doctor, Tang Bingyun said. How can you not see a doctor when you're sick? If it gets worse, you'll be in trouble, Jin Li said seriously. I'm really fine. It's just that. Tang Bingyun suddenly paused as if she was organizing her words. Jin Li saw that she wanted to say something, but stopped. She seemed to understand. Oh, is it the kind of discomfort you get every month? Yes. I can't hide anything from you, Sister Jun. Tang Bingyun smiled, but there was a little awkwardness in her laughter. Boil some brown sugar water. It'll relieve a lot of the discomfort. As a woman, Jin Li was very experienced in this, so she gave a suggestion. Okay, I will. Tang Bingyun responded and quickly ended the call with Jin Li. She flipped through the contact list, found the female assistant's phone number, and dialed it. On the phone, Tang Bingyun asked the female assistant to buy something. However, it was not brown sugar. She asked the female assistant to buy some ointment to reduce swelling and pain. I didn't see Uncle Qin just now. Didn't he come? Wang Haoran thought of something and asked Jin Li. I just talked to him on the phone. He said that he was delayed by something and will be here in a while. Wang Xiang knew that the Uncle Qin Wang Haoran mentioned was Qin Kai, so he immediately responded. After all, the two families were old acquaintances. In the past, Wang Xiang took Wang Haoran to Qin Kai's house as a guest. Qin Kai also took Qin Yunhan to the Wang family as a guest. My dear son, you actually want to ask if Uncle Qin's daughter will come, right? Jin Li felt that she had seen through her son's thoughts. Mom, why do you think so? Wang Haoran was surprised. Don't try to lie to your mom. Wei Wei is a music professor. How could she have so many classes? How could she have classes at night? And even if she had classes, she would definitely come to my birthday party, considering how much she cares about you. Jin Li analyzed and then directly exposed Wang Haoran. You didn't tell Wei Wei about my birthday party, did you? Wang Haoran was stunned. The first half of Jin Li's guess was wrong, but the second half was quite accurate. Mom, you are so smart. Wang Haoran smiled strangely. You're eating from a bowl, but looking at the pot. Jin Li pulled a long face and asked, do you like Yunhan or Wei Wei? If you had to choose, who would you choose? Wang Haoran subconsciously showed that he was thinking. Jin Li saw it and couldn't help but pat him on the shoulder. Silly son, you really want to choose? Of course I want both. Huh? Wang Haoran was stunned by Jin Li's action. What are you talking about? They're both good girls, and they are so beautiful. You will lose out no matter which one you choose. Of course, you want both, Jin Li said matter-of-factly. When Wang Xiang heard this, he put his hand on Wang Haoran's shoulder and said earnestly, Our family is weak. My precious son, our Wang family has very few descendants. You're the only one in your generation. The heavy responsibility of carrying on the family line falls on your shoulders. Find as many as you can. The more people there are, the more children there will be. The revitalization of the Wang family depends on you. My dear son, our family is not short of money. We can raise as many children as we want. Don't worry too much. Jin Li echoed. Chapter 467. Wang Xiang and Jin Li spoke one after another as they began to educate their children. Wang Haoran was speechless. He felt that the two of them were too weird. However, when he thought of their villainous personas, he suddenly understood. If the two of them did not have such a weird concept, they would not have raised such a villainous son. After being lectured, Wang Haoran let nature take its course and accepted the two's teachings. Wang Xiang and Jin Li were gratified and went to the living room to greet the guests. There was still some time before dinner time. Wang Haoran was not interested in interacting with the older generation, so he did not go to the living room. He just wandered around the Wang family mansion. Cousin Haoran. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out from behind him. Wang Haoran turned around and saw that it was his distant cousin, Jin Wei. Jin Wei was in the same class as Qin Yunhan when they were in Waterluster High School. He was Qin Yunhan's loyal bootlicker. However, after being lectured by Wang Haoran He did not dare to have any ideas about Qin Yunhan anymore. After the college entrance examination, Wang Haoran and Zhen Wei did not have much contact. Zhen Wei's grades were relatively poor. Wang Haoran only vaguely knew that Zhen Wei spent money to go to a private university in another city. However, he did not know which school it was. "Cousin, I haven't seen you for a few months. You become more handsome." While thinking, Zhen Wei ran up to him and flattered him. "Nonsense." Wang Haoran threw out 2 words in response to Zhen Wei. He felt that Zhen Wei's smile was a little strange, as if something bad was going to happen. "Cousin, you and Qin Yunhan both went to Qingling University. You should have won her over, right? Did you take a video of her? Do you want me to admire your elegance?" Zhen Wei rubbed his hands with a wretched look on his face and asked Wang Haoran. "Get lost." Wang Haoran kicked Zhen Wei's, but even if he did, he wouldn't let anyone see it. Zhen Wei's words were simply asking for a beating. "Cousin, if you don't want to show me, then don't show me. Why did you kick me?" Zhen Wei grimaced in pain as he rubbed his sore spot. "If you *King mention this again, I'll throw you into the clear spirit river to feed the fish," Wang Haoran warned. Okay, I won't mention it. Zhen Wei was afraid and hurriedly waved his hand. "By the way, are there a lot of pretty girls in the private school you went to?" Wang Haoran suddenly asked. Naturally, he wanted to know if there was a female lead character in Zhen Wei's school. Many. Zhen Wei seemed to be in high spirits when this topic was brought up. His saliva splashed everywhere as he said, "I haven't been in school for long, and I've already had 3 beautiful girlfriends." Wang Haoran had a look of contempt on his face. What kind of trash was Zhen? He was a loser with only a little bit of money at home. How could the woman he managed to woo be called a beauty? Do you have any misconceptions about beauty? I'm talking about beauties on the level of Qin Yunhan. Is there such a beauty? Wang Haoran gave him a standard and asked again. Of course there isn't. Qin Yunhan is a goddess. Our school doesn't have such a beauty. Moreover, most of them are playful. They make friends casually. It's very messy, Zhen Wei replied. Wang Haoran nodded. He could understand. After all, a private school, to put it bluntly, was a school that could be attended with money. Looking at the male online novels, there didn't seem to be a female lead who came from such a messy private school. Even if the female lead was set to drop out of school, she wouldn't be studying in such a messy private school. Cousin Haoran, our school doesn't have such a school, but there are other schools in our university town. Among them, there are key universities, famous drama schools, and art schools. There are definitely goddesses on the level of Qin Yunhan. If I see them in the future, I'll ask around and tell you. Zhen Wei said with a solicitous face. Which city are you studying in? Wang Haoran didn't answer immediately. Instead, he asked first. Shanghai, Zhen Wei said. Wang Haoran's eyes lit up. He was a little tempted. Shanghai was more prosperous than Qingling. It could be considered an international metropolis. In such a metropolis, there should be no lack of female leads. Moreover, in some of the male online novels, some of the protagonists started from Shanghai and then rose to fame. If you meet someone on the level of Qin Yunhan, let me know, Wang Haoran replied to Zhen Wei's previous question. Okay, cousin. Zhen Wei agreed excitedly. After chatting with Zhen Wei, Wang Haoran continued to walk outside the mansion for a few minutes. Then, he turned back to his bedroom and prepared to make 2 calls to ask about the 2 of them. Because when he thought about what happened in the afternoon, he felt that it was a little too much. However, he didn't have a better idea at the moment. So he came up with this plan. On the other side, Zhen Wei wandered around the Wang family mansion. After a while, he came to the kitchen. Some people were washing and cutting vegetables in preparation for the banquet. A long-legged beauty in a chef's robe was inspecting and inspecting. When she saw ingredients that didn't meet the standards, she would ask someone to reprocess them. Some of the ingredients that required excellent knife skills would even be handled personally. At this time, the long-legged beauty in the chef's robe was processing an Atlantic bluefin marlin. Zhen Wei's attention was attracted by the long-legged beauty. He stopped and watched for a while. However, he was just looking. He knew his own capabilities. Naturally, he knew that it was impossible for him to not get a goddess-like beauty like her. Zhen Wei continued to watch for a while. Suddenly, he thought of something. If he couldn't get her, he could introduce her to his cousin, Howren. If his cousin, Howren, was happy, he would definitely give him some benefits. With this thought in mind, Junwei excitedly walked into the kitchen where he worked. "Hello, beautiful. Want to add me on WeChat?" Junwei went straight to the point. Song Zhihui was processing the Atlantic bluefin marlin. Her expression was very serious. When she heard the words coming from beside her, she didn't turn to look. "Sorry, I'm busy." Junwei didn't rush her. He waited quietly for the long-legged beauty to finish processing the Atlantic bluefin marlin. "You're not busy now, are you?" Song Zhihui wiped her gloves with a towel. Only then did she turn to look at the person who spoke. So perverted, that was her first impression of the person in front of her. "Sorry, I'm busy with other things. Please don't disturb me," Song Zhihui said. Junwei was a little annoyed. Just now, he could understand that the long-legged beauty was processing the ingredients and didn't have time to give him her contact number. But now that the ingredients were all processed, her hands were free. Was it that hard to add him on WeChat? "Please move aside. Don't disturb the people here." Junwei Chu was in the kitchen. He was blocking the way and was delaying the kitchen's work. Song Zhihui could not help but complain. "Do you know who I am? How dare you talk to me like that?" Junwei felt that he had lost face and raised his voice angrily. Chapter 468. Seeing the look on Junwei's face, Song Zhihui guessed his identity subconsciously. Soon, she thought of a person. It was Wang Haoren, the rich second-generation heir mentioned by her best friend Feng Anna. "Oh, then tell me, who are you?" Song Zhihui was not sure, so she asked lightly. "I am." Junwei wanted to tell her his identity, but he suddenly stopped when the words were about to come out of his mouth, because he felt that he was not qualified. He was just Jun Li's distant relative. It was nothing. He came to the birthday party by chance. He was not invited at all. Even if he told her his identity, the beauty in front of him would not give him face. However, Junwei felt ashamed, so he said sternly, "You will know me soon. You'll know my identity very soon. Just you wait." After saying that, Junwei left with a little resentment. Song Zhihui frowned. She did not see that Junwei was bluffing, because she had a preconceived idea that he was Wang Haoren. He suddenly said those harsh words. Obviously, he had complained to his parents. However, Song Zhihui was not afraid. She was invited by Wang Xiang, or to be precise, Wang Xiang begged her to come. Did she need to be afraid of Wang Haoren? Even if Wang Haoren complained, so what? Not to mention whether Wang Xiang would help her son. Even if he did, she was not afraid. She was not to be trifled with. Song Zhihui continued to be busy with her work. She didn't take the wretched and ugly guy seriously. Junwei left the kitchen and went directly to Wang Haoren. But he did not find him. After asking a few servants, they also said that they did not know. Junwei was a little helpless. When the dishes were served, Wang Haoren, who had finished his phone conversation in the bedroom, showed up. There were 2 tables in the birthday party. Jun Li's friends were on one side, and the relatives were on the other. Wang Haoren sat at the relatives' table. Junwei sat down beside Wang Haoren. "Cousin, I saw a long-legged beauty in the kitchen just now. She's really pretty." Junwei whispered. "Is she as beautiful as Qin Yunhan?" Wang Haoren asked in a low voice. "Yes, and she's much taller than Qin Yunhan. Her legs are also longer than Qin Yunhan's." Junwei had a wretched look on his face. Wang Haoren raised his eyebrows. Qin Yunhan was 175 meters tall, which was considered very tall among girls. This long-legged beauty was even taller? Such a tall woman was already rare, and such a tall beauty was even rarer. Wang Haoren's interest was piqued. However, it was inconvenient for him to run to the kitchen to take a look since they were in the middle of the banquet. "Have you taken any photos?" Wang Haoren asked. "No." Junwei shook his head and complained. "When I saw that long-legged beauty, I wanted to ask for your contact number, but she didn't know what was good for her. She didn't even bother to talk to me. I brought you up at that time, but she said that you were nothing and mocked you." Her words were really unpleasant. Wang Haoren narrowed his eyes and looked at him. He roughly knew why Junwei was so annoying. Of course, he wouldn't believe him completely. "Okay, I'll ask her later and see if she said such things. If she did, I'll definitely teach her a lesson. If she didn't, I'll teach you a lesson, Wang Howren said. Don't. Cousin, I exaggerated a little. She didn't mock you. She just gave me the cold shoulder. Zhenwei quickly corrected himself. You said that she's in the kitchen. What does she do? Wang Howren asked. From the looks of it, she's the head chef. Zhenwei replied. Do you know what she's called? No. Zhenwei shook his head. After hearing this, Wang Howren didn't continue to ask. He planned to go and see for himself after the banquet. When the dishes were almost served, the banquet began. Wang Howren picked up a piece of sashimi made of bluefin tuna and put it in his mouth. He felt his taste buds explode. It's so delicious. Wang Howren's eyes lit up. He picked up several pieces of sashimi. At this time, at the table of his mother Zhang Li's friends, some incredulous voices sounded. Old Wang, where did you find this chef? His cooking skills are amazing. I've eaten a lot of delicacies, but this is the first time I've tasted such good food. Those words came from Qin Kai. Old Qin, there's something you don't know. I invited an internationally famous chef to cook this birthday banquet. He's one of the top chefs in the world. The chef of an ordinary 5-star hotel can't compare to him. Wang Xiang replied with a smile. Who is he? Qin Kai asked. It's the internationally renowned genius chef, Song Zhihui, Wang Xiang said. The beautiful chef in her 20s who was conferred a title by the queen of the rising sun city? Qin Kai asked in surprise. Yes. Wang Xiang nodded. The other friends at the table also heard a little bit, and they all looked surprised. At the side table, after hearing the conversation between Qin Kai and Wang Xiang, Wang Howren's hands couldn't help but tremble, especially when he heard the name Song Zhihui. Wasn't this the female lead who fell in love with him at first sight? He was worried about where to find this Song Zhihui. He didn't expect that she was the chef who cooked his mother Zhang Li's birthday banquet. The long-legged beauty mentioned by Zhang Wei must be this Song Zhihui. It's not easy to invite this beautiful god of cooking. How did you do it? Qin Kai asked Wang Xiang curiously. It's very difficult. If you don't have some friendship, you won't be able to invite her. Wang Xiang didn't have the face to say that he spent a lot of money to invite her, so he lied. Moreover, to prevent Qin Kai from continuing to ask, Wang Xiang changed the topic. Hey, old Qin, where's my niece Yunhan? Didn't you say that you would bring her here? Why don't I see her? We had an agreement. I sent the driver to pick her up at school, but she suddenly called and said that she wasn't feeling well, so she won't be coming, Qin Kai explained and then turned to look at the side table. Howren, when you go back to school, go and see her for me. If she's sick, tell her to see a doctor. Okay, Uncle Qin. Wang Howren nodded in response. By the way, how are things going between you and Yunhan? Qin Kai knew that his daughter and Wang Howren were very close a few months ago. Now that the two of them were in the same school, they had more opportunities to get along. Qin Kai was concerned about his daughter's relationship, but his daughter had been avoiding talking about it, so he wanted to ask Wang Howren about it. Wang Howren's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. Could he tell Qin Kai the truth? Of course he couldn't. If he did, Qin Kai would probably kill him. After thinking quickly, Wang Howren said with a dejected face, Uncle Qin, Yunhan is too cold. She doesn't want to talk to me. At present, our relationship is closer than that of ordinary friends. Chapter 469. After hearing Wang Howren's words, Qin Kai was stunned for a moment. Then, he felt that it was normal. Yunhan is used to being spoiled since she was young. She has a bit of a temper, but she is still very kind. After explaining for a while, Qin Kai encouraged him with a smile. Howren, Yunhan doesn't have any other male friends. If she can be friends with you, she must think highly of you. You have to work hard. Uncle has faith in you. The Wang family and the Qin family had known each other for a long time. Wang Howren and Qin Yunhan had known each other for a long time. They were like childhood sweethearts. Moreover, the two of them were well matched in terms of social status. Qin Kai was very satisfied with Wang Howren. He hoped that his daughter and Wang Howren would be together. Okay, I will work hard. Wang Howren smiled and responded to Qin Kai. However, he thought to himself, work hard? If I hadn't been careful, you might have been waiting to be a grandfather. But then again, he had run out of things to keep himself safe. He had to buy some online as soon as possible. While they were talking, all the dishes were served. Old Wang, don't you have a friendship with the beautiful god of cooking? Won't you introduce us to her? Qin Kao was a little tempted. He wanted to invite this female chef to his banquets in the future. Therefore, he said to Wang Xiang. After hearing that, Wang Xiang couldn't help but feel a little guilty. However, he still braced himself and said, "Okay." Moreover, the god of cooking had been busy for a long time and hadn't eaten yet. In terms of etiquette, he should invite her over for a meal. "Uncle, I'll go call her." Jin Wei volunteered. Wang Xiang nodded and reminded him, "Remember to be polite." Of course. Zhen Wei left the banquet hall excitedly and ran outside. Soon, he arrived at the kitchen. At this time, Song Zhihui had taken off her chef's robe. It seemed that she was ready to leave. "Hello, my uncle invites you over for a meal." Zhen Wei remembered to remind her, so he said politely, "Your uncle?" Song Zhihui was surprised. "It's Wang Xiang," Zhen Wei explained. Only then did Song Zhihui realize that the wretched man in front of her was not Wang Haoran. However, if his cousin was ugly, how could his elder cousin be good-looking? It must be ugly as well. So far, she had only seen Wang Xiang and had not seen Jinli. Now that Wang Xiang was middle-aged and plump, he was no longer as handsome as he had been when he was young. Song Zhihui didn't think that Wang Xiang's genes were good, so she naturally thought so. Anyone who saw photos of Wang Haoran when he was young or the beautiful Zhen Lu would not think that Wang Haoran was ugly. "I still have something to do, so I won't be able to eat. Please pass on the message." Because of what happened to her best friend Feng Anna, Song Zhihui didn't like Wang Haoran at all. At the same time, she also didn't like the Wang family. Now that the birthday banquet was over and her work was done, she naturally did not want to stay any longer. After replying to Zhen Wei, Song Zhihui prepared to leave. She had a personal assistant who helped her with her daily life. She had just called her assistant and asked her to drive over to pick her up. Calculating the time, she should be arriving at the Wang family's mansion soon. Song Zhihui didn't want to stay any longer, so she turned around and walked to the gate of the Wang family's mansion. Zhen Wei remembered Wang Xiang's order, so he didn't dare to force her to stay. He could only quickly run to the banquet hall to tell the situation. "It's a pity that this beautiful master chef has something to do, so it's not convenient for me to keep her," Wang Xiang said, pretending to be regretful. In fact, he was afraid that Song Zhihui would inadvertently tell the truth after she came. Wang Xiang had spent a lot of money to invite her, so he didn't know her at all. Wang Xiang didn't want to lose face in front of his friends, so after knowing that Song Zhihui was leaving, he naturally wouldn't ask her to stay. However, for the sake of politeness, Wang Xiang still got up and prepared to see her off at the gate. After all, Wang Xiang planned to invite Song Zhihui to continue to cook the banquet when the Wang family held a wedding in the future. "Excuse me, everyone. I'll go and see if this beautiful master chef can stay for the banquet," Wang Xiang said to his friends, then left the banquet hall and walked to the gate of the mansion. Wang Haoran knew that Wang Xiang had spent a lot of money to invite Song Zhihui, so he naturally doubted Wang Xiang's words. After thinking for a while, he also got up and left the banquet hall. So far, Song Zhihui had seen him, but he hadn't seen Song Zhihui. Therefore, they naturally wanted to see what the beautiful goddess of cooking looked like. In particular, he wanted to see with his own eyes whether Song Zhihui's legs were really long. Wang Xiang came to the gate of the mansion. Song Zhihui stood with her back to the gate of the mansion, carrying an expensive bag, as if she was waiting. Hearing footsteps behind her, she suddenly turned around. "Miss Song, don't you want to stay for the banquet?" Wang Xiang asked. "Thank you for your hospitality, but I have something to do, so I won't stay for the banquet," Song Zhihui said politely. "Okay." Wang Xiang didn't insist. He nodded, pretending to be regretful, and then said, "I'll transfer the rest of the money to your account tomorrow morning." "Okay." Song Zhihui nodded and smiled politely. At this time, a red Mercedes-Benz commercial car drove over and stopped at the gate of the Wang family's mansion. It was Song Zhihui's personal female assistant who drove here. "Miss Song, I won't see you off," Wang Xiang said politely again. Song Zhihui put on a fake smile and didn't bother to reply. She was about to get in the car. Suddenly, she saw a figure coming from not far away. Song Zhihui froze when she was about to get into the car. She fixed her eyes on the figure coming over. A smile gradually bloomed on her delicate and beautiful face. Wang Haoran used his jade eyes and saw Song Zhihui from afar. Song Zhihui was really tall. She was about 180 centimeters. And although she was tall, her curves were amazing. She had a supermodel figure. Her legs were wrapped in tight jeans. They were really long and well-proportioned. If they were added or subtracted, they would lose their beauty. They were just perfect. Wang Haoran asked himself. He had never carried such long legs on his shoulders. The most important thing was that Song Zhihui was still very fair. That kind of natural whiteness. Her skin was as good as a baby's, without any blemish. Soon, Wang Haoran came to Wang Xiang's side. Song Zhihui saw it even more clearly, and her heart seemed to be pounding madly. Miss Song, the female assistant, was waiting outside the car. She waited for Song Zhihui to get into the car, and then closed the door for her. However, Song Zhihui still had one foot in the car and the other on the ground. She didn't move for a long time. The female assistant was also puzzled, so she asked. Hearing the voice, Song Zhihui came to her senses. She quickly averted her gaze and looked somewhere else. Then she withdrew one of her long legs from the car. She walked to Wang Xiang. Wang Xiang felt a little strange when he saw this. Song Zhihui was about to get into the car and leave. Why did she suddenly come back? Mr. Wang, I thought about it again. You invited me so warmly. If I just leave like this, I won't give you face. While Wang Xiang was puzzled, Song Zhihui suddenly spoke. Because of her guilty conscience, Song Zhihui didn't dare to look at Wang Haoran when she said this. Chapter 470. Hearing Song Zhihui's words, Wang Xiang's face fell. To be honest, he really wanted Song Zhihui to leave just like that. He was afraid that Song Zhihui would unintentionally expose his previous lies at the banquet. However, since Song Zhihui had said so, Wang Xiang couldn't drive her away. Haha, then please. Wang Xiang restrained his thoughts and revealed a smile. On the surface, he appeared as if he was extremely welcoming. Then, Wang Xiang led the way. Wang Haoran knew the change in Song Zhihui's attitude, but he kept silent. On the way, Song Zhihui suddenly asked Wang Xiang, "Who is this next to you?" "This is my son. His name is Wang Haoran." Wang Xiang gave a simple introduction. When Song Zhihui saw the man she fell in love with at first sight, she had already guessed it. However, when she heard Wang Xiang say it, she couldn't help but feel shocked. She had never expected that her best friend's creditor was the handsome man she fell in love with at first sight. At that time, she even complained to Feng Anna that Wang Haoran was ugly. Thinking of this, Song Zhihui felt embarrassed. However, after hearing Wang Xiang's introduction, she couldn't help but look at Wang Haoran. Wang Haoran also tilted his head and looked at her. The two pairs of eyes met in the air. Wang Haoran looked calm. Song Zhihui, on the other hand, felt her heart beating faster. She secretly took a deep breath and calmed down, showing a smile. "Hello." As she spoke, she took the initiative to extend her hand. "Hello." Wang Haoran reached out and shook hands with her. He felt that Song Zhihui's hand was softer and smoother than he had imagined. Logically speaking, as a chef, Song Zhihui's hand should be a little rough. However, on second thought, if Song Zhihui wore special gloves when handling ingredients and cooking and took good care of her skin, it was normal for her hand to be so tender. Moreover, the heroine halo was always unreasonable. Song Zhihui's hand was different from that of ordinary chefs. It was even more reasonable that she was like a young lady who didn't do any housework. After thinking about it, the two shook hands and then let go. However, Wang Haoran could clearly feel that Song Zhihui's hand trembled when they shook hands. Wang Xiang, who was watching from the side, felt a little strange. Song Zhihui didn't even shake his hand. Why did she seem so friendly toward his son? But on second thought, this seemed to be a good thing. Not long after, the three of them arrived at the banquet hall. There was a seat reserved for Song Zhihui at her friend's table. After Song Zhihui arrived, she sat down naturally. Wang Xiang had bragged before, so he could only brace himself and pretend to be friends with Song Zhihui and introduce her to his friends. After saying those words, Wang Xiang became very nervous. He was afraid that Song Zhihui would tell the truth. Surprisingly, not only did Song Zhihui not tell him the truth, she was even very polite to him and Zhun Li during the banquet. His friends didn't doubt Wang Xiang's words at all. By the time the dinner was over, it was already completely dark outside. Wang Xianglu continued to send his friends off. Song Zhihui stayed for a while longer. When the guests gradually left, she felt that it was not appropriate to stay any longer. Boss Wang, it's time for me to go. Goodbye. Miss Song, it's already late. You're new to Qingling and don't have a fixed place to stay. Why don't you stay here for the night? What do you think? Wang Xiang tried to persuade her to stay. He did this because he wanted to thank Song Zhihui for not exposing him before. That was why he was so courteous. Thank you for your hospitality. Song Zhihui seemed to be afraid that Wang Xiang would change his mind, so she quickly responded. Okay, I'll send you off. Wang Xiang blurted out, but he quickly realized that the situation was different from what he had expected. He quickly changed his words. Not at all. It's my honor to have you stay, Miss Song. Then, he wanted to ask the servant to bring Song Zhihui to the best guest room, but he suddenly noticed that his son was looking at Song Zhihui. Howren, send Miss Song to the guest room. Wang Xiang couldn't help but help his son. Okay. Wang Howren responded and secretly praised Wang Xiang. He looked at Song Zhihui and gestured for her to follow him. Follow me. Thank you. Song Zhihui was overjoyed, but she only showed a small smile on her face. Wang Howren walked in front, and Song Zhihui followed closely behind. After a while, they arrived at a guest room. Wang Howren pushed the door open and walked in with Song Zhihui. The guest room is cleaned regularly. The bed and some other things are all new. You can sleep peacefully. Also, if you need anything, just let me know. Wang Howren said seriously. Thank you. Song Zhihui lowered her head and nodded her snow-white sharp chin. She suddenly asked, Are you still studying? She was more restrained in formal occasions. In fact, she was very lively and cheerful. Seeing that there was no one else here, she naturally returned to her normal self. Moreover, Wang Howren looked very shy. Naturally, Song Zhihui became even bolder. Yes, I'm in my first year at Qingling University. Wang Howren looked very honest. First year, Song Zhihui muttered to herself. If that was the case, he should be around 19 years old, 3 years younger than her. Was she an old cow eating young grass? Bah, no. As the old saying goes, a woman 3 years older than her husband would carry a golden brick. You're not handsome. There must be a lot of girls chasing after you. Do you have a girlfriend? Song Zhihui continued to ask. No, I don't have a girlfriend. Wang Howren lowered his head and looked away, as if he was embarrassed. After hearing that, Song Zhihui's eyes lit up with joy. She looked at Wang Howren's evasive eyes and said half-jokingly, What do you think of me? Wang Howren was stunned. He did not expect Song Zhihui to be so direct. You're very beautiful. Wang Howren pretended that he did not understand the meaning behind her words. Then I'll be your girlfriend, okay? Song Zhihui felt that he was a little slow, so she had to be more straightforward. Wang Howren wanted to reply with an okay, but when the words were about to come out of his mouth, he swallowed them back. He had checked Qin Fan before and knew what Qin Fan's 99 skills were. Among them, there was the god-level cooking skill. Song Zhihui's cooking skill was godlike. She was most likely one of Qin Fan's 99 disciples. If he confirmed his relationship with Song Zhihui, and if Qin Fan knew about it, wouldn't that make Qin Fan hate him? I was joking with you just now. Actually, I have a girlfriend. Wang Howren suddenly changed his words. Hearing that, Song Zhihui rolled her eyes. She did not believe that at all. She thought that Wang Howren was just finding an excuse to reject her. Then do you mind having another girlfriend? Song Zhihui did not expose the shy guy. She looked at him intently and smiled seductively. She wanted to seduce him. Chapter 471. When Wang Howren saw Song Zhihui's provocative gaze, he wanted to say, Woman, you will be, however, he only said it in his heart. On the surface, he said naively, I'm serious. I really have a girlfriend. I'm serious too. I don't mind if you have a girlfriend. Song Zhihui looked sincere. Are you sure? I'm sure. Wang Hao heard it. Of course, he didn't believe it. Song Zhihui only admired him. It was unlikely that she would tolerate him to this extent. If he was right, Song Zhihui must have mistaken his words for a lie. What do you think of my dishes? Are they delicious? Seeing Wang Hao in a daze, Song Zhihui suddenly asked. Delicious. This is the first time I've eaten such delicious dishes. Your cooking is really good. Wang Hao praised sincerely. This was true. Song Zhihui's cooking skills were superb. After tasting it, it was an unforgettable feeling. If you want to eat in the future, I'll cook for you at any time. However, there's a prerequisite. Song Zhihui patiently guided him. What is the prerequisite? Tell me. Wang Hao had already vaguely guessed it, but he pretended not to understand. After all, Song Zhihui thought that she was an honest person, so her reaction was slow. In her opinion, this was normal. Song Zhihui only felt embarrassed. However, facing such a shy guy, how could she not take the initiative? She gritted her teeth and stamped her feet. She went all out and said, Of course, I'll be your girlfriend. Must it be like this? Is there any other option that I can eat your dishes? Wang Hao didn't answer directly. Instead, he kept her in suspense. Yes, give me money. It's not much to treat me to a meal. 1 million will do. Song Zhihui said. That's too expensive. Wang Hao was surprised. Seeing Wang Hao's reaction, Song Zhihui only felt that this guy seemed to care more about food than she did. This made Song Zhihui a little angry. But there was a saying that if you wanted to capture a man's heart, you had to capture a man's stomach first. As long as he ate her cooking a few more times, he would definitely not be able to leave her in the future. At that time, wouldn't his heart be with her? If you don't want to spend money, that's fine too. Why don't you consider my suggestion? Song Zhihui revealed a confused smile. She felt like she was trying to trick a child with a lollipop. But isn't this too fast? We've only met for the first time today, Wang Hao said shyly. This is the second time, Song Zhihui corrected. The second time? Wang Hao pretended to be suspicious. Yes, it's my first time. Song Zhihui corrected herself. At that time, he was in the car, so this guy didn't see him. Let me think about it for a while, Wang Hao said. Hey, I'm a girl, and I'm already taking the initiative. Why are you so hesitant? Are you a boy? Song Zhihui was a little anxious. She stepped forward and forced Wang Hao into a corner. I want to reply now. Otherwise, don't even think about leaving. Actually, she wasn't that bold, but she had already said it so bluntly. She almost lost all her face, and this guy in front of her actually said that he needed to think about it. Of course, Song Zhihui was angry. Under the influence of her superiors, she did such a thing. Of course, the most important point was that this guy was too shy. He looked like he was easy to bully. Wang Hao's back was pressed against the wall. He was pressed against the wall and couldn't move. He had the urge to stop pretending to be an honest guy and teach Song Zhihui a lesson. But if he did that, he would undoubtedly attract Qin fans' hatred. Unless he took advantage of her and let Song Zhihui hide it. But was there such a good thing? Wang Hao quickly racked his brain and suddenly thought of an idea. Have you thought about it? Hurry up and answer me. Song Zhihui was shy, but on the surface, she pretended to be fierce and urged. My parents don't allow me to date. They said that I should study hard in university and only consider this kind of thing after I graduate. Wang Hao looked like an obedient boy with some fear on his face. My parents are very strict with me. If they know that I secretly found a girlfriend, I will definitely be in trouble. Aren't your parents too pedantic? And you're already an adult. Aren't they too strict with you? Didn't you argue with them? Song Zhihui was surprised and asked. I protested, but what I got in return was a mixed pair of men and women beating me up. Wang Hao looked scared. Song Zhihui heard this and sighed. No wonder this guy was so shy. It turned out that his upbringing was too strict. Thinking of this, Song Zhihui couldn't help but feel a little worried. But the only consolation was that from this guy's tone, it wasn't that he had no interest in her, but that he was afraid of being scolded by his parents. Let me ask you a question. Can you answer me honestly? Song Zhihui wanted to confirm again, so she asked seriously. Go ahead. Wang Hao nodded. Do you like me? Song Zhihui couldn't be bothered to care so much. Anyway, she had lost most of her face. So what if she was a little thick-skinned? Anyway, this shy guy wouldn't talk nonsense to others. If he didn't say, who would know? After saying this, Song Zhihui looked into Wang Haoran's eyes, wanting to get his response. Wang Haoran avoided her eyes. His hand pinched the corner of his shirt, and he didn't answer formally for a long time. However, Song Zhihui saw him like this and already had an idea in her heart. I have the best of both worlds idea. Do you want to hear it? Song Zhihui went straight to the point. What idea? Wang Haoran was curious. I'll be your girlfriend, and you'll hide it from your parents. Is that all? Song Zhihui said, I've been waiting for you to say that. Wang Haoran had the urge to clap his hands in joy. He had been pretending for a long time just to wait for Song Zhihui to take the initiative to suggest it. However, although he was excited, Wang Haoran didn't agree immediately. Instead, he said, there's no such thing as a wall. There's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in the world. I can hide it from my parents, but if someone else sees it and it reaches my parents' ears, I'll be in trouble, Wang Haoran said worriedly. Song Zhihui thought for a few seconds and quickly came up with a solution. That's simple. We'll talk about it secretly and not tell anyone. In front of others, we'll be normal friends. In private, we'll be boyfriend and girlfriend. Isn't that enough? After hearing this, Wang Haoran smiled foolishly. There's no problem, right? Song Zhihui was delighted. There's no problem. Wang Haoran shook his head. Then I'll officially announce that I'm your girlfriend from now on. In the future, please take care of me. Song Zhihui raised her snow-white chin and smiled slyly. At the same time, she reached out her soft white hand. Please take care of me. Wang Haoran scratched his head, then reached out his hand and shook Song Zhihui's hand. Ding! The host has successfully tricked the female lead Song Zhihui. The reward is 1,800 villain points. Qin Fan's protagonist aura -90. The host's villain aura +90. Chapter 472. When Song Zhihui saw the shy look on Wang Haoran's face, she smiled proudly. She had been single since she was born. Now, she finally had a boyfriend to order around. Moreover, this guy seemed to be easy to bully. She was actually a little like a wild girlfriend. When she saw that the guy in front of her was like a docile little lamb, she was even more delighted. Wang Haoran took in Song Zhihui's expression and was secretly amused. He continued to chat with Song Zhihui for a while, then left. However, Wang Haoran did not return to his room. Instead, he went to look for Wang Xiang and Zhenli to inform them. He did not want Wang Xiang and Zhenli to unintentionally expose him. After all, Song Zhihui thought that he had received a very strict upbringing. Buzz. After talking to Wang Xiang and Zhenli, Wang Haoran returned to his room. His phone suddenly vibrated. When he looked at the caller ID, he realized that it was from Feng Anna. Feng Anna had called him twice during the day. However, Wang Haoran did not have time to answer her call. Now that he had nothing to do, Wang Haoran picked up the phone with some doubts. What's the matter? It's like this. A friend of mine who I haven't seen for a long time has come to Qingling. I would like to apply for leave tomorrow to meet this friend of mine. Is that okay? Feng Anna asked softly. Is it a guy or a girl? Wang Haoran did not answer immediately. Instead, he asked first. Feng Anna could not help but feel curious. She had been living in the villa for some time. She had not been taken advantage of when she was cleaning and cooking. He did not seem to be interested in her. Why did he ask if it was a guy or a girl? However, although she was curious, Feng Anna did not dare to ask further. She only replied, It's a girl. She's my best friend. Then you can go. Be careful, Wang Haoran replied. Okay, thank you. Feng Anna was delighted. She had thought that she would not be able to apply for leave. Song Zhihui was sleeping in the guest room of the Wang family's mansion. Lying on the bed, she was thinking about some problems. She had originally planned to go overseas after helping the Wang family organize the birthday banquet and meet up with her best friend. However, she didn't expect to meet someone she liked and even become his girlfriend. The original plan naturally had to be changed. She had been drifting abroad for several years and felt a little tired. She wanted to settle down. Therefore, the idea of settling down in Qingling was born. While he was thinking, the ringtone of an incoming call sounded. Phone, Anna picked up the mobile phone on the bedside. After looking at the caller ID, she answered the phone and hurriedly asked, Anna, have you applied for leave? Yes, I've invited him. I didn't expect him to agree so readily. Phone, Anna said joyfully. Song Zhihui couldn't help but feel a little strange. She now knew that Feng Anna's creditor was Wang Haoran. From Feng Anna's tone, it seemed that she had been bullied. Is your creditor harsh on you? Song Zhihui asked. I'm just cooking and sweeping the floor. He's not harsh on me, Feng Anna said. Then did he take advantage of you? Song Zhihui asked nervously. From Feng Anna's tone, Song Zhihui could tell that the two lived under the same roof. No, he doesn't even look me in the eye. Feng Anna told the truth. Song Zhihui was completely relieved. Sure enough, Wang Haoran was not different from what she thought. Her best friend Feng Anna owed a debt that she couldn't pay back, but she just swept the floor and cooked. From this point of view, her boyfriend was still very kind. Feng Anna was so beautiful, but she didn't take advantage of him. This showed that her boyfriend was a decent person, because if it was another guy with bad intentions, wouldn't Feng Anna torture her when she owed a debt that she couldn't pay back? Song Zhihui only felt that she had found a treasure. Where shall we meet tomorrow? Feng Anna asked. Let's meet at the Jinhao Hotel tomorrow morning. After Song Zhihui arrived in Qingling, she booked a room at the Jinhao Hotel, but she didn't go back to the hotel because she wanted to stay the night at the Wang family's residence. That's good, Feng Anna replied. Under the night sky, somewhere in Qingling, in another mansion, Qin Fan sat on the sofa in the living room, looking at the 5 million in his phone balance, his face beaming. This money was earned from selling recipes from the boss of the Jinhao Hotel. He also bought his phone today. He even went out of his way to apply for a bank account. He was originally an unregistered resident, but Ma Hongsheng helped him settle the issue of his ID card, so it wasn't a problem for him to handle these businesses. Although the 5 million was a far cry from the 500 million, it was definitely enough for his pocket money. Qin Fan didn't have to face the awkward situation of not having a single cent in his pocket anymore. Moreover, with a certain amount of funds, he could use the money to make more money. Qin Fan didn't worry about financial problems anymore. The only thing he cared about now was when he would solve the problem of being single. He had had enough of a life of self-entertainment, and he was determined to quit it, and he had already decided on his target. That was Tantai Yaoyue. Tantai Yaoyue had just been hurt and was currently emotionally empty. It was a good opportunity to take advantage of it. However, just as Qin Fan had this thought, a voice suddenly rang out. Ring, ring, ring. The landline phone suddenly rang. Qin Fan moved his butt and picked up the landline phone. I have your secret in my hands. If you don't want the secret to be leaked out, then transfer 10 million. On the phone, a very strange cartoon voice sounded. It seemed to be using a voice changer. After Qin Fan heard it, he couldn't help but laugh. What kind of shameful secret could he have? It was simply hilarious. A scam phone call actually came to him. Crazy. Qin Fan was too lazy to chat with this scammer. After throwing out these 3 words, he directly hung up the phone. Moreover, he blocked this scam phone call to prevent the other party from harassing him again. Finding the number that Tantai Yaoyue had left, Qin Fan dialed it with his phone. Yaoyue, are you free tomorrow afternoon? Let's have a meal together. After the call connected, Qin Fan smiled and sent out an invitation. Is senior brother Ma also there? Tantai Yaoyue asked. No, just the 2 of us. Qin Fan wanted to be alone with Tantai Yaoyue. How could he call others? After Tantai Yaoyue heard it, she was silent for a few seconds. Although Qin Fan was her master, he was also a man and wasn't old. Tantai Yaoyue didn't want to be misunderstood and was unwilling to go, but she still had to give face to her master. Thinking about it, Tantai Yaoyue said, Okay, master, I'll go with Haoran. Your brother has to go to school. He shouldn't have time, right? Qin Fan wanted Tantai Yaoyue to give up on the idea of calling Wang Haoran. There's no class at noon. He'll definitely be free. Then it's settled. Tantai Yaoyue directly said. Chapter 473. Night. Wang Haoran was half lying on the bed, playing games with Qin Yunhan. Suddenly, a small frame popped up on the screen with an incoming call notification. Wang Haoran hung up and picked up the phone. Have lunch with me tomorrow. Tantai Yaoyue went straight to the point. Sister, why did you suddenly want to have lunch with me? Wang Haoran was curious about Tantai Yaoyue's intentions, so he asked. My master invited me to lunch. I don't want to go alone, so I called you. Is there a problem? Tantai Yaoyue explained. No problem. See you tomorrow. Wang Haoran said. Is it hard to talk with me for a while? Why are you in such a hurry to hang up? Tantai Yaoyue's tone was a bit sour. How could it be? Talking to big sister on the phone is a very delightful thing. What do you want to talk about? Wang Haoran hurriedly said. What are you doing? Tantai Yaoyue asked. Playing games. What game? Mobile pub. What's mobile PUBG? Tantai Yaoyue stayed in the mountains for many years, so she naturally didn't know. Wang Haoran explained. The two chatted for more than an hour, until Tantai Yaoyue felt that it was a bit late. She didn't want to disturb Wang Haoran's class tomorrow, so she ended the call. On the other side, Qin Yunhan was anxious. After Wang Haoran hung up, he continued to play games with Qin Yunhan. It wasn't until Qin Yunhan was tired and sleepy that they ended their trip. Right now, it was only 11 a.m. I saw that Qin Yunhan went offline. Come play King of Glory with me. Su Muyin quickly sent a message. Wang Haoran was helpless. He turned off the mobile PUBG and opened King of Glory. At 1 a.m., Su Muyin was also sleepy and wanted a rest. Wang Haoran finally had some free time. At this moment, he was still full of energy. She opened the online shopping app on her phone and placed an order for a box of items to ensure her safety. It was the largest size. The next morning, Wang Haoran woke up, ate breakfast, and prepared to leave the Wang family's villa. Song Zhihui was also about to leave. However, she didn't call her female assistant to pick her up in advance. Haoran, send Miss Song off. Wang Xiang secretly assisted him. Okay, Dad. Wang Haoran nodded obediently. Go to school and study hard. Remember what I taught you. Do you hear me? Wang Xiang said sternly. I know, Wang Haoran quickly replied. You'd better do as I say. I have spies in the school. If I find out that you've disobeyed me, I'll definitely teach you a lesson. Wang Xiang revealed a ferocious look, just like a strict father. Song Zhihui watched from the side and felt sorry for her boyfriend. However, she was afraid that Wang Xiang would find out something, so she could only remain silent. Wang Xiang continued to lecture Wang Haoran for a while before he signaled for him to leave. When the Lamborghini drove out of sight, the stern look on Wang Xiang's face disappeared and was replaced with a smile. He secretly cheered for his precious son. He prayed that his precious son could win the heart of the beautiful master chef. If that was the case, he wouldn't have to pay the beautiful master chef for banquets in the future. That was wonderful. In the car, your father is really fierce. How can you have such a father? I really feel sorry for you. Song Zhihui felt that it was unfair for Wang Haoran. I'm used to it. It's nothing. Wang Haoran smiled freely and then asked, Where are you going? I've booked a room at Jinhao Hotel. You can go there. If you want to find me, just come to Jinhao Hotel, Song Zhihui said. Jinhao Hotel? When Wang Haoran heard these words, his eyelids suddenly twitched. He found out from Cheng Rue that Qin Fan always ate at this Golden Inn. Song Zhihui was staying at Jinhao Hotel. According to the plot, the two would definitely meet. However, this wasn't a big problem. Song Zhihui's heart was stolen and she was in love with him. Qin Fan couldn't do anything. Moreover, Qin Fan's thoughts should be with Tantai Yaoyue. This afternoon, he had a lunch appointment with Tantai Yaoyue at Jinhao Hotel. After a while, Wang Haoran sent Song Zhihui to the entrance of Jinhao Hotel. Song Zhihui didn't immediately get out of the car. Instead, she hinted, I'm leaving. Okay, go ahead, Wang Haoran replied. I said I'm leaving. Song Zhihui repeated herself. Okay, Wang Haoran nodded. Song Zhihui felt helpless. Was this guy a block of wood? He didn't understand such an obvious hint. She felt a little tired, but Song Zhihui still planned to teach him. I said I'm leaving. What I mean is, I want you to give me something. Do you understand? Song Zhihui said bluntly and opened her hand. Oh. Wang Haoran pretended to understand and then gave her a hug with an embarrassed look. Song Zhihui was satisfied. She waved at him and got out of the car. Wang Haoran was about to drive away when he suddenly saw Qin Fan's figure. In the distance, Qin Fan saw Song Zhihui and hurriedly ran over. Wang Haoran had seen many situations where meat buns attracted dogs. He was used to it. Seeing Qin Fan suddenly appear, he wasn't surprised. "Zhihui, do you still recognize me?" Qin Fan came in front of Song Zhihui and asked with a smile. "Master, I actually see you here. When did you come down the mountain?" Song Zhihui revealed a surprised smile. "It's been a while," Qin Fan replied, and also noticed Wang Haoran in the car. "Haoran, do you know each other?" Just now, he saw Song Zhihui get out of the car from afar. "It's like this," Song Zhihui explained. She hid their relationship and only said that he was the son of a client who happened to go to school and dropped her off. Qin Fan heard and immediately smiled. "What a coincidence. Haoran is the brother of one of your junior apprentice sisters." "Is that so?" Song Zhihui was surprised. She felt that fate was very clever. "You and your junior apprentice sister haven't met yet. I invited her and Haoran to lunch today. You should come and get to know each other." Qin Fan originally wanted to be alone with Tantai Yaoyue, but now that the plan was ruined, he naturally didn't mind calling Song Zhihui. Other than having feelings for Tantai Yaoyue, he also had feelings for this long-legged, beautiful disciple. Qin Fan had secretly decided that after he captured Tantai Yaoyue's heart, it would be Song Zhihui's turn. In the past, when he was teaching Song Zhihui how to cook, Qin Fan often thought about Song Zhihui, especially her long legs, when he was entertaining himself. "I have an appointment with my best friend today. Can I bring my best friend over?" Song Zhihui naturally didn't object, but remembering her promise with Feng Anna, she asked. "Of course, just bring her over. The more the merrier." Qin Fan nodded happily. Song Zhihui was so beautiful. A woman who could become her best friend must also be very beautiful. Qin Fan also wanted to get to know her. After all, the bigger the net, the higher the chance of catching fish. Chapter 474. "Okay, then I'll bring my best friend over." Song Zhihui responded to Qin Fan. "Zhihui, you've been down the mountain for a few years. How's your career going?" Qin Fan asked. "It's okay, but it's all thanks to you teaching me the skills." Song Zhihui summarized her experience after leaving the mountain and the process of becoming famous in the culinary world. Qin Fan nodded with relief and then asked the question that he was eager to know. "Zhihui, your career is doing so well. How's your relationship? Do you have a boyfriend?" "I have one." Song Zhihui glanced at Wang Haoran from the corner of her eyes and replied. "Ding, the host has damaged the protagonist Qin Fan's mentality. Gained 1,000 villain points. Qin Fan protagonist aura a -50. Host villain aura +50. You have a boyfriend." Qin Fan was disappointed when he heard this. After adjusting his emotions, he continued to ask, "Who is your boyfriend? Let me know him." As he spoke, he was already planning in his heart to find out who Song Zhihui's boyfriend was and secretly destroy her man's ability. If it wasn't for this, how could he have a chance? "Master, he's a foreigner, so he's too far away. Let's talk about it when we have the chance." Song Zhihui remembered the agreement, so of course, she didn't dare to reveal Wang Haoran's matter, so she lied. Otherwise, if her boyfriend's parents found out, they would definitely break them up. After Qin Fan heard this, the idea of dealing with Song Zhihui's boyfriend became even stronger. A foreigner? There was either white skin or black skin. However, Song Zhihui didn't seem like a hardcore person, so her boyfriend was most likely white skin. "Is this your first boyfriend? How long have you been together?" Qin Fan asked again. Song Zhihui felt strange and thought to herself, "This master seems to care too much about my relationship problems." However, she didn't think too much about it, thinking that her master was just asking out of concern. After all, when she was learning in the mountains, Song Zhihui had already seen that her master was a gentleman, not a dirty person. "Our first love. We just got together not long ago." Song Zhihui felt that this was not important information, so she didn't deliberately hide it. Qin Fan replied with an "oh," and couldn't help but feel happy. They just got together, so their relationship definitely hadn't reached that stage. After understanding this, his mind became even more active. When Wang Haoran saw the change in Qin Fan's expression, he could not help but sneer in his heart. Song Zhihui didn't understand Qin Fan's thoughts, but he did. Whether it was Tantai Yaoyue or Song Zhihui, Qin Fan's intentions were not pure. Master, I'll see you at noon. Bye-bye. When Song Zhihui saw that Wang Haoran had not left and had been watching from the side, she thought that he was jealous. Therefore, she did not want to chat with Qin Fan anymore, in case he misunderstood. Have you eaten breakfast? Do you want to have breakfast together? Qin Fan asked. Yes, Song Zhihui replied. She stopped chatting with Qin Fan and turned around to walk into the hotel. Haoran, have you eaten? Qin Fan turned his head and asked politely. Yes, I have. Qin Fan nodded and reminded her. Remember to come for lunch with your sister. After saying that, he also walked into the hotel. Wang Haoran drove away. On the way, he thought about the matter of exposing Qin Fan's video. He originally planned to wait for Ma Hongxing's side to expose it, but there was no movement from Ma Hongxing's side. And Qin Fan was like a sticky candy. Tantai Yaoyue saw the relationship between master and disciple, and thought that Qin Fan was a gentleman, so she did not guard against him. Although, because of him, she still kept an appropriate distance from Qin Fan. But Qin Fan kept looking for Tantai Yaoyue. This was not a solution. He had to let Tantai Yaoyue recognize this Qin Fan. And that video was the best weapon, because that video had Qin Fan's voice, and in it, the two words Yaoyue were mentioned. If Tantai Yaoyue knew about this, how wonderful would Qin Fan's expression be? Wang Haoran drove to the vicinity of Qingling University, but he did not immediately go to the school. Instead, he went to the internet cafe. After turning on a computer, Wang Haoran prepared to code a video in his phone and prepared to post it on the internet so that everyone would know about it. However, when he finished coding and was about to post it, he found the same video on the internet. Wang Haoran was secretly happy. He knew that this was made by Ma Hongxing. However, this video had just been posted not long ago. Although there were people behind it adding fuel to the fire, it would still take some time for it to ferment and spread widely. Moreover, the content of this video was not suitable for mass promotion. It would be restricted by some rules. More importantly, Qin Fan was not a public figure. If he wanted to have a huge impact, it would take a long time. Wang Haoran did not want to wait so long. He was very unhappy with Qin Fan now and was determined to punish Qin Fan. After thinking for a while, he used his hacking skills to hack the servers of some media platforms. For example, some short video apps, forums, websites, etc. He either wantonly pushed the video of Qin Fan to users or directly made it the headline of the website. After spending 2 to 3 hours, Wang Haoran was almost done with these things. Qin Fan's video was now like a super virus, spreading on the internet at a terrifying speed. And the person involved, Qin Fan, was still unaware. At this moment, he was in the kitchen of the Golden Fortune Hotel, planning to cook a few dishes that even Song Zhihui did not know how to cook. He wanted to win Tantai Yaoyue's favor during lunch. Close to noon, Wang Haoran drove to Liu Yu's villa and picked up Tantai Yaoyue. Then, he went to the Golden Fortune Hotel. Qin Fan had already made a reservation. Song Zhihui and Feng Anna strolled for a while in the morning and were now sitting in the private room. Wang Haoran and Tantai Yaoyue also came to the private room. When Feng Anna saw Wang Haoran, both of them felt a bit surprised. They did not expect to see each other here. You are the junior sister that Master talked about, right? Hello. Song Zhihui stood up and took the initiative to greet Tantai Yaoyue. Hello, senior sister. In the morning, Tantai Yaoyue also heard some news from Qin Fan and knew about Song Zhihui's existence. They learned different skills, but from the time they entered the sect, Song Zhihui was indeed a senior sister. Junior sister, how can you be so beautiful? I am a woman, but my heart is moved. Song Zhihui looked at Tantai Yaoyue and felt a bit absent-minded. Feng Anna was shocked when she saw Wang Haoran, but now she also came back to her senses and looked at Tantai Yaoyue. She immediately had the same thought as Song Zhihui. However, Feng Anna's reaction was not as big as Song Zhihui's. After all, she had seen a calamitous beauty like Tantai Yaoyu before. She even lived under the same roof. Chapter 475. Senior sister, you're also very beautiful. Tantai Yaoyu was a bit embarrassed and praised Song Zhihui. The two looked at each other and smiled, then praised each other for a while. Then, Song Zhihui's gaze landed on Wang Haoran, who was beside Tantai Yaoyu. Senior sister, this is my younger brother, Wang Haoran. Tantai Yaoyu introduced. Song Zhihui nodded towards Tantai Yaoyu, indicating that she understood. However, she did not greet Wang Haoran, pretending that she was not familiar with him. You two aren't blood-related siblings, right? Song Zhihui asked curiously. Yesterday, Wang Haoran's mother, Zhenli, celebrated her birthday. At that time, she did not see Tantai Yaoyu. If the two were blood-related siblings, Tantai Yaoyu would definitely be there. Moreover, the two had different surnames. Song Zhihui would naturally think that the two were not blood-related siblings. We're not blood-related siblings. Tantai Yaoyu replied to Song Zhihui. But our relationship is the same as blood-related siblings. Wang Haoran added. Tantai Yaoyu felt hurt hearing this, but she did not dare to show it on her face. Song Zhihui believed Wang Haoran's words. Her gaze towards Tantai Yaoyu became even more friendly. Junior sister, sit beside me. Song Zhihui very enthusiastically pulled Tantai Yaoyu to the seat next to her. She held her hand and started chatting. Wang Haoran also sat down. He sat beside Tantai Yaoyu. Not long later, the dishes were served. The hotel waiters brought one after another exquisite dishes to the table. A strong fragrance assailed their nostrils, making Tantai Yaoyu and the others have a feeling of wanting to eat. This must be master's cooking. Song Zhihui was a connoisseur. Just by smelling the fragrance and looking at the appearance, she could roughly judge the level of the dishes. She was certain that the head chef of this 5-star hotel would definitely not be able to make such a beautiful and fragrant dish. And Qin Fan had not appeared yet. The answer was already obvious. On the dining table, the bowls, chopsticks, and other tableware had already been placed. Tantai Yaoyu, Song Zhihui, Feng Anna, and even Wang Haoran had the urge to try it. Among them, Tantai Yaoyu was the most impatient. She wanted to pick up the chopsticks and have a taste. Sister, wait a minute. Wang Haoran hurriedly stopped her, because he was afraid that Tantai Yaoyu would feel nauseous after eating it. That would be bad. Hearing the sound, Tantai Yaoyu's movements stiffened. Then, she put down her chopsticks. It was indeed a little impolite to start eating before everyone had arrived. Tantai Yaoyu restrained her thoughts. A moment later, all the dishes were served. At that moment, Qin Fan also appeared and entered the private room. Qin Fan greeted Tantai Yaoyu and Song Zhihui. Then, his gaze landed on the unfamiliar beauty in the private room. Sure enough, as he had guessed, Song Zhihui's best friend was indeed beautiful. However, Qin Fan was only eyeing with envy. After all, Tantai Yaoyu was his main target. Right now, he had not even won over Tantai Yaoyu. Naturally, he did not want to pursue other beauties. Moreover, Tantai Yaoyu was present. It was even more difficult to do anything. Qin Fan looked around the private room. He really wanted to sit next to Tantai Yaoyu. However, Song Zhihui sat next to Tantai Yaoyu and Wang Haoran at the other side. Since they were already seated, Qin Fan could not ask them to change seats. Right now, he only had two choices. One was to sit next to Feng Anna. The other was to sit next to Wang Haoran. Qin Fan thought for a moment and chose to sit next to Wang Haoran. He did not plan to pursue Feng Anna for now. Naturally, it was not convenient for him to reveal his thoughts towards Feng Anna. Everyone is here. Can we start? Tantai Yaoyu had a feeling of eagerness and said, "No rush." Qin Fan raised his hand to stop her. He pointed towards one of the dishes. "Why don't you guess the name of this dish first?" Wang Haoran sneered in his heart. He calmly watched Qin Fan's performance. He had no intention of causing trouble for now. Tantai Yaoyu, Song Zhihui, and Feng Anna heard this and subconsciously looked over. They saw that the dish Qin Fan pointed at was extremely beautiful. Next to the plate was a type of shell that was shaped like a cup. In the cup-shaped shell, there was some soup. The soup was emitting a faint steam. It was very fragrant. In the middle of the shell, there was a round ball made from chopped seafood. On the plate, there were some vegetables of several colors as decorations. Because Feng Anna saw Wang Haoren here and did not know Tantai Yaoyue and Qin Fan, she was a bit reserved. Therefore, she did not say anything. After Song Zhihui looked at the dish that Qin Fan indicated, she racked her brain and immediately said, "That's right. Stars accompanying the moon." "No." Qin Fan shook his head. His gaze inadvertently looked at Tantai Yaoyue and slowly smiled. The name of this dish is called a cup inviting the bright moon. Very poetic. Not bad, not bad. As expected of master. Song Zhihui praised. After Tantai Yaoyue heard this, she could not help but be surprised. Because in the name of the dish Qin Fan mentioned, there were two characters that were her name. However, she did not think too much about it. She only thought it was a coincidence. Take a guess. What's the name of this dish? Qin Fan stretched out his hand and pointed at another dish with an extremely beautiful appearance. Song Zhihui guessed again. She then asked Qin Fan if she guessed correctly. Qin Fan shook his head and revealed the answer. This dish is called a cup inviting the moon's shadow over intoxicated flowers. Song Zhihui nodded in praise. She felt that the dish Qin Fan named was very good. However, as if she felt something, she glanced at Tantai Yaoyue. The two dishes Qin Fan mentioned both had the two characters inviting the moon. Was it a coincidence? Or was there another reason? Song Zhihui, as a spectator, had her suspicions, let alone Tantai Yaoyue. There's still this dish. Make another guess. Qin Fan appeared to be quite interested as he turned his hand and pointed at another dish. This time, Song Zhihui did not feel like guessing, because she could not guess correctly. She directly asked Qin Fan. This dish is called falling curtain inviting the moon's shadow. Qin Fan replied. When Song Zhihui heard this, she did not know how to praise it. If it was said that the two characters inviting the moon appearing in the first two dishes could be considered a coincidence, then for the third dish to have the two characters inviting the moon, this was definitely not a coincidence. It was clear that Qin Fan had deliberately done this. Everyone is hungry. Let's eat. Qin Fan said with a chuckle. He had deliberately done this to give Tantai Yaoyue a clear hint. When he was teaching Tantai Yaoyue in the mountains, because of the system's restrictions, he had no choice but to be a gentleman. In Qin Fan's view, as a disciple, when Tantai Yaoyue saw her master like this, even if she had any thoughts, she would definitely give up on them. And now, Qin Fan wanted to use these hints to convey a message to Tantai Yaoyue. That was, Yaoyue, master actually likes you. After Tantai Yaoyue received this message, she would definitely consider him as her partner. Qin Fan was very confident in himself. After all, he knew too many skills. Which man in the world could be more outstanding than him? The possibility of Tantai Yaoyue liking him was very high. Next, he would wait for Tantai Yaoyue to clear her thoughts and respond. Tantai Yaoyue was not stupid and naturally understood Qin Fan's meaning. She immediately felt a strong sense of discomfort in her heart. Her heart was already occupied by a certain person and could not hold anyone else. And she only respected Qin Fan as her master. Now that Qin Fan had done this, she naturally felt very uncomfortable. However, it was not good to give Qin Fan face in front of everyone. Tantai Yaoyue could only play dumb and pretend that she did not understand. Everyone, don't just stand there. Let's eat. Qin Fan smiled, wanted to liven up the atmosphere. He immediately picked up a dish and ate. Tantai Yaoyue, Song Zhihui, and Feng Anna picked up their chopsticks. But at this time, this. Wang Haoren let out a sound of disbelief. Everyone looked over and saw Wang Haoren holding his phone, seemingly looking at a short video, as if he was looking at the wonders of the world. Haoren, what are you looking at? Qin Fan sat next to him and asked curiously, even moving his head closer. When his gaze landed on the phone screen, his eyes were as big as lanterns. Qin Fan wanted to stop this short video from playing. But it was too late. The voice from the short video was Qin Fan's. Ah, Yaoyue, Yaoyue. The voice gradually became louder. Qin Fan's toes suddenly clenched, his scalp numb to the point of feeling like it was going to explode. And at this time, Tantai Yaoyue, Song Zhihui, and Feng Anna all looked over with suspicion and shock. Chapter 476. In this era where information spread at high speed, even if they tried to avoid it, they would still be influenced by some common knowledge. Tantai Yaoyue, Song Zhihui, and Feng Anna were all women in their 20s, not children. After hearing that strange voice, they could not help but think of something unhealthy. Among them, Tantai Yaoyue's reaction was the biggest. After all, that voice was calling her name. Howren, what are you looking at? Tantai Yaoyue had some guesses in her heart, but she was not sure. She wanted to confirm it. So, she asked Wang Howren. This. Nothing. I'm not looking at anything. Wang Howren had a strange expression, shaking his head in response. However, the short video playing on the phone was not turned off. Seeing this, Qin Fan wanted to take Wang Howren's phone and turn off the video. But Tantai Yaoyue was one step ahead, snatching Wang Howren's phone. Qin Fan knew he could not stop it, so he painfully covered his eyes, wanting to find a hole to crawl into, never to come out again. Tantai Yaoyue took the phone, glanced at it for a few seconds, and the suspicion in her heart was confirmed. Instantly, her face flushed red, and a feeling of disgust rose in her heart. Song Zhihui and Feng Anna curiously leaned over to take a look. When the scene entered their eyes, the two also felt embarrassed. But fortunately, the video was censored, so they did not see what they should not see. However, they all understood what Qin Fan had done. Bang! Tantai Yaoyue smashed the phone on the table, and the full screen of the phone cracked. It's not my fault. Why did you smash my phone? Wang Howren's heart ached for a moment. However, when he saw Qin Fan's embarrassed expression, he felt much better. Tantai Yaoyue, Song Zhihui, and Feng Anna did not have the mood to eat anymore. Before, when they saw the table full of dishes, their fingers were moved, but now they only felt disgusted, because they would inadvertently think that Qin Fan used the hand that did that, and then cut vegetables, stir-fry vegetables. Just thinking about it made them sick. How could he have the appetite to eat it? Ding! The host manipulated behind the scenes, causing the main character Qin Fan's image to be greatly damaged. The reward is 4,000 villain points. Qin Fan's protagonist aura a -200, and the host villain aura +200. Howren, let's go. Tantai Yaoyue stood up from her seat and walked out of the room without looking back. Wang Howren picked up the phone with a cracked screen and followed after him. Seeing that, Song Zhihui and Feng Anna followed them. In the private room, only Qin Fan was left, facing a table full of untouched dishes. Qin Fan sat in place, doubting his life for a while before waking up with a start. He wanted to explain to Tantai Yaoyue. She rushed out of the room, wanting to chase after Tantai Yaoyue. Hey, isn't that the guy in a short video? It's not just similar, it's clearly her. Hey bro, your skills are pretty good. While Qin Fan was chasing after Tantai Yaoyue, some male passersby recognized Qin Fan and began to tease him. That video of his skills was currently one of the 2 most popular short video apps on the market. As long as you opened the short video and watched it 3 times, you would be able to see Qin Fan's skills. Qin Fan could be considered to have become popular, and some female passersby, after recognizing Qin Fan, did not tease him but laughed up their sleeves. Qin Fan heard the discussions and saw some strange gazes looking at him. At this moment, not only did his scalp go numb, his whole body went numb. Halfway through chasing Tantai Yaoyue, Qin Fan could not stand the surrounding gazes and voices. He covered his face with his hands and left the hotel in a sorry state. A Lamborghini drove out of the hotel's garage and onto the road. In the car, Wang Howren controlled the steering wheel while secretly looking at Tantai Yaoyue's expression. He saw that Tantai Yaoyue's flawless face was tightly stretched. I really didn't expect him to be so dirty. Tantai Yaoyue's brows were tightly furrowed, her small mouth spitting out cold words. Before, When she was learning in the mountains, Tantai Yaoyue always thought that Qin Fan was a gentleman. Who would have thought that she had misjudged him? Qin Fan was actually that kind of person in private. He was simply a beast. He actually had such unhealthy thoughts about his own disciple. So much so that they even did those disgusting things in private. And this was the first time he had been discovered. In the 3 years when Qin Fan was teaching her in the mountains, who knew how many times he had done those disgusting things? Tantai Yaoyue decided that from now on, she would keep the greatest distance from Qin Fan and not have any contact with him. Things like eating together would forever be impossible. You really can't judge a book by its cover. Sister, you have to stay away from that Qin Fan in the future. Wang Haoran sighed and said to Tantai Yaoyue. Of course. Tantai Yaoyue nodded solemnly. Elder sister, when you were learning martial arts in the deep mountains, did that Qin Fan make a move on you? Wang Haoran deliberately mentioned it again. Tantai Yaoyue's impression of Qin Fan as a gentleman had already been destroyed. Since the situation had changed, Wang Haoran naturally had to change his strategy. Firstly, it was to obtain villain points and halo points. Secondly, he really missed it and wanted to experience it again. Therefore, a plan to trick Tantai Yaoyue appeared in his mind. Didn't I tell you before? I didn't even let him touch my finger. Tantai Yaoyue stated again. Wang Haoran made an "oh" sound, looking very perfunctory. Tantai Yaoyue saw that his expression was not right and couldn't help but say, "Why are you suddenly asking this? Don't you believe me?" "Just asking." Wang Haoran squeezed out a smile that looked very fake. Tantai Yaoyue frowned. "You didn't feel it at that time?" Halfway through, she suddenly couldn't continue. "What?" Wang Haoran asked. "I haven't thrown away the bedsheet yet. I secretly hid it in the bedroom. You'll know when you see it." Tantai Yaoyue said with a red face. "Forget it, there's no need." Wang Haoran shook his head. "I have to see it." Tantai Yaoyue looked very persistent. Wang Haoran pretended to be helpless. They came to Lu Yu's villa. Xiao Qianwei and the others were eating in the dining room. Without any explanation, Tantai Yaoyue directly grabbed Wang Haoran and brought him to room 7. She took out her collection and showed it to Wang Haoran. "You should have some common sense. Do you believe me now?" Tantai Yaoyue said. "I'll show it to you. I'll let you down. I really deserve to die." Wang Haoran had a pained expression as he lowered his head. Tantai Yaoyue was suspicious for a moment before realizing. This guy thought she was a casual person. No wonder he didn't want to take responsibility. Clenching her fists, Tantai Yaoyue had an urge to beat someone up. Wang Haoran suddenly raised his head. His eyes were red, as if there were tears rolling in them. Tantai Yaoyue was stunned. Her clenched fists instantly loosened, feeling as if her heart was about to melt. Chapter 477. I've wronged you, Wang Haoran's face was filled with self-blame, as if he had made an important decision. But after saying "I" for a long time, he did not continue. Tantai Yaoyue could guess what he was going to say. Her eyes were filled with anticipation, waiting for him to continue. But after a long while, he still did not say anything. Tantai Yaoyue was extremely anxious and could only take over and speak for him. "You want to take responsibility, right?" Wang Haoran nodded, then suddenly shook his head. Nodding, then shaking your head. "What do you mean?" Tantai Yaoyue was very anxious. Wei. Wang Haoran looked very troubled. Explain to her properly. Wei is gentle and magnanimous. There definitely won't be a problem. Tantai Yaoyue urged. I'm not good with words. I can't convince her." Wang Haoran seemed to have changed his mind. Tantai Yaoyue was not happy. "Then let me go talk to her. That should be fine, right?" "Really?" Wang Haoran's eyes showed some surprise. "I'm her big sister, and she respects me so much. I'll find a chance to talk to her about this. There shouldn't be a problem." Tantai Yaoyue estimated and replied. "Sigh. I feel like I'm such a scumbag. I've wronged you all." Wang Haoran was very ashamed, reaching out to slap himself. Tantai Yaoyue could not bear to and quickly grabbed his wrist, persuading. "That was an accident. You didn't want it to happen, right? Since it has already happened, there's no point in hitting yourself, understand?" Tantai Yaoyue consoled him. But after saying these words, he suddenly felt very strange. It seemed like he was the one who needed consoling, right? Why was she consoling him instead? Wang Hao nodded, bringing up the most important matter. Our matter, you must not let your master know, or else I may lose my life. He's not. Tantai Yaiwe subconsciously wanted to defend Qin Fan, say that Qin Fan was not that kind of person. However, as he spoke, he suddenly recalled the disgusting things that Qin Fan had done. He immediately stopped arguing for Qin Fan. She previously thought that Qin Fan was a gentleman, but in the end, quite the opposite. One may know a person's face, but not his heart. If Qin Fan were to become jealous, Wang Haoran would definitely be in danger. Tantai Yaoyu knew that Qin Fan's martial strength was extremely high. If he wanted to deal with Wang Haoran, she would not be able to stop him. For Wang Haoran's safety, Tantai Yaiwe completely understood what she had to do. Keep our matter a secret. Don't let anyone else know. It's best if we don't even tell Wei Wei for now. After Tantai Yaiwe thought deeply, she said to Wang Haoran seriously. Okay. Wang Haoran nodded vigorously. Ding! The host has successfully tricked the female lead Tantai Yaiwe. The reward is 1,600 villain points. Qin Fan's protagonist aura -80. The host's villain aura +80. Tantai Yaiwe put away the bedsheet and then walked out of the bedroom with Wang Haoran. They arrived at the restaurant. Big sister, didn't you go out to eat? Why did you come back so quickly? Qiu Qianwei asked curiously. Don't mention it. I feel nauseous. Tantai Yaiwe was very depressed. Then did you eat? Lu Yu asked. I didn't eat. I don't have an appetite. I don't want to eat. Tantai Yaiwe was still feeling nauseous. I'm a bit hungry. I want to eat. Wang Haoran said. I'll go get some rice for you. Tantai Yaiwe went to the kitchen and got a bowl of rice and chopsticks, placing it in front of Wang Haoran. Qiu Qianwei and the others looked at Tantai Yaoyu's actions and were a bit suspicious. What are you looking at me for? I caught him as a driver and got some rice for him as repayment. Is this strange? Tantai Yaiwe looked around at the suspicious gazes and raised her voice as she spoke to everyone. When Qiu Qianwei and the others heard this, they quickly looked away and obediently lowered their heads to eat. After the meal, Wang Haoran sat for a bit before leaving the mansion and preparing to head to school. On the way there, he received a call from Song Zhihui. Have you eaten? Song Zhihui's voice came from the phone. I've eaten. What about you? Anna and I have also eaten, Song Zhihui replied and then said, Don't worry. Although I used to be in the mountains and learned cooking from Qin Fan, there's nothing between us. Don't think too much. You're my first love. She also saw the video of Qin Fan's coding. Although Qin Fan was talking about Tantai Yaiwe in the video, but Song Zhihui suspected that Qin Fan was also thinking about her and did that kind of shady business. She was planning to keep a distance from Qin Fan in the future. However, Song Zhihui was afraid that Wang Haoran would think too much, so she felt that it was necessary to call and explain. What era is it now? I'm not so pedantic, you don't have to specifically tell me. Wang Haoran could guess Song Zhihui's thoughts, so he deliberately said this. When Song Zhihui heard this, she immediately became anxious, because she judged from Wang Haoran's words that this guy must be thinking too much. You're my first love? I can swear. You don't believe me? Song Zhihui hurriedly said. I don't have that kind of complex. It's really not important whether you're that or not. Wang Haoran's tone seemed to be quite indifferent. Song Zhihui became even more anxious. What do I have to say to make you believe me? I'm really... Okay. I believe you are. Wang Haoran's tone was perfunctory. Song Zhihui felt helpless. She only felt that this guy was forced by her to answer like this. After thinking for a while, she said, I know that it's useless no matter how much I say now. But when the truth is in front of you in the future, you will understand that I'm telling the truth. What truth is in front of me? Wang Haoran seemed to not understand and asked curiously. It's... Song Zhihui was too embarrassed to say it. Suddenly she saw Feng Anna coming over after paying the bill. Anna is coming to my place soon. I'll talk to you later. Don't just study like a nerd. Learn more basic knowledge. In case you don't know anything, then how are we going to... Aya, I'll talk to you later. There was a beep from the phone. The call was hung up. Wang Haoran put away his phone, an inexplicable smile appearing at the corner of his mouth. He thought to himself, I know a lot. You don't have to worry at all. I'll give you a huge surprise when the time comes. Chin Fan left the hotel in a fleeing posture, stopped the taxi, and prepared to go back to the mansion he lived in. In the car, the driver who liked to watch short videos immediately recognized Chin Fan. When he drove Chin Fan home, he kept looking at him strangely. Chin Fan only felt that there was a knife on his back. After a torturous period of time, he finally arrived at his destination. Chin Fan paid the fare, got out of the car, and rushed into the mansion. In the bedroom where he entertained himself, he found the surveillance camera inside. Then, he found many more cameras in other hidden places in the mansion. Chin Fan vented his anger and stepped on all the pinhole cameras to pieces. After he calmed down, Chin Fan called Ma Hongsheng. "Little Ma, why are there so many pinhole cameras in the mansion you let me live in?" After the call was connected, Chin Fan questioned in a deep voice. Chapter 478. What pinhole camera? Master, what are you talking about? Ma Hongxing acted as if he didn't know anything and asked Chin Fan instead. I found some surveillance cameras in and out of the mansion. Did you install these cameras? Chin Fan asked in a deep voice. Master, why would I install cameras in the mansion? Of course, I didn't install them. Ma Hongxiang said. After Chin Fan heard this, he thought for a moment and quickly felt that this matter shouldn't have anything to do with Ma Hongxiang. Moreover, Ma Hongxiang had no reason to install those things. Master, what happened? Ma Hongxing's tone was very concerned. Do you have a short video app in your phone? You'll understand after a few swipes. Chin Fan wanted to ask for Ma Hongxing's help, so he could only bite the bullet and say it. Moreover, that video was spreading like wildfire now. Ma Hongxing would know about it sooner or later. There was no need to hide it from Ma Hongxing. I have it on my phone. Ma Hongxiang responded, and then followed Chin Fan's words to browse a few short videos. Soon, he saw Chin Fan's display of his skills. Ma Hongxiang had already seen it, and his face didn't show the slightest surprise. However, Chin Fan couldn't see Ma Hongxing's expression through the phone. Master, why would you do such a thing? Ma Hongxiang pretended to be shocked and said to Chin Fan in disbelief. Let's not talk about this. I just want to know who installed the cameras. Chin Fan gritted his teeth. I bought that mansion not long ago. A celebrity used to live there. I guess someone must have wanted to invade the privacy of that celebrity, so they installed surveillance cameras. Ma Hongxiang explained, and then said with self-reproach, That's right. It's all my fault. After I bought that mansion, I didn't live there and I didn't let anyone clean it up. If I found someone to clean it up, this wouldn't have happened. Master, your privacy wouldn't have been. Sigh. After sighing again and again, Ma Hongxiang continued after a pause. Right, Master, why did the person who installed the cameras expose your privacy for no reason? You're not a celebrity, so there's no reason. It's really strange. Don't tell me they have nothing to do. I received a call from the landline of the mansion. The other party used a voice changer and said that they had my secret. They asked me to transfer 10 million to them. Chin Fan remembered something. Master, what did you do? Ma Hongxing asked. I used to make fraudulent calls, so I ignored the other party and even blacklisted the other party's number. Chin Fan recalled and immediately regretted it. It must be because the other party failed to threaten him, so he flew into a rage out of embarrassment. Master, why didn't you find out more about the situation back then? Why did you hang up the phone and blacklist the other party? Ma Hongxiang was a cunning old fox. He purposely stabbed Chin Fan's heart. Hearing this, Chin Fan felt even more regretful. However, it had already happened, and there was no point in regretting it. He could only think of ways to make up for it. Xiaoma, help me think of a way to get rid of those short videos on the internet. The sooner the better. Chin Fan said, All right, I'll use all my connections as soon as possible to quell the storm. Ma Hongxing vowed. Inwardly, he thought, Dream on. Lousy can't wait for you to die. After ending the call, Chin Fan felt mentally and physically exhausted. He collapsed on the bed in his bedroom. Now that he had a few million in assets, he planned to spend some money outside and buy some stylish clothes to dress himself up and increase his charm. However, the video was spreading like wildfire. Who would dare to go out? In the afternoon, in one of the classrooms in the finance department building, on the podium, the dignified and beautiful Liu Yu was giving a lecture to the students. The other students sat upright and still, listening attentively to the lecture. Wang Haoran, on the other hand, took out his newly bought mobile phone and started playing games. When Lu Yu saw this, she didn't say a word and pretended not to see it. This was because this was the right that Lu Yu had given to Wang Haoran. In her class, Wang Haoran could do whatever he wanted. Buzz! A message popped up on Wang Haoran's mobile phone screen. It was from Xiao Wanwan. Wang Haoran opened the message and read it. Gu Yuro destroyed a painting worth 500,000 at an art exhibition. When he saw this message, Wang Haoran looked indifferent. The female lead had always been a troublemaker. It was normal for her to encounter such a situation. At this time, it was time for the male lead to clean up her mess. However, now that he had impersonated the male lead, wouldn't he have to clean up her mess himself? However, he couldn't be bothered to do such a thing. Who cares about her life? Let her solve it herself. Tell me the result after this matter is over. Wang Haoran typed the message and was ready to send it. Ding! This action will be regarded as giving up the impersonation of the male lead. The 3,200 villain points and 160 villain points that you have previously earned will be deducted. Do you confirm? A system message popped up. Wang Haoran's hand that was about to touch the screen suddenly stopped. If it weren't for Qin Fan, he wouldn't have cared about the 3,200 villain points. However, what he lacked the most now was villain points. His heart ached when he had to deduct 3,200 villain points for no reason. If I impersonate the male lead of the female lead and proceed according to Gu Yuro's plot, will I receive a reward? Wang Haoran asked the system. Yes, host. The sooner you finish the plot of the female lead, Gu Yuro, the more rewards you will receive. When the female lead, Gu Yuro, ends her plot, she will lose her identity as the female lead and her halo. After receiving the system's reply, Wang Haoran's eyes lit up. So it could be done this way? Wang Haoran's interest was piqued. Although he didn't want to enter Gu Yuro's plot to clean up her mess and solve her problems, it would be a different matter if there were rewards. After thinking about it, Wang Haoran deleted the message he had typed. He retyped the message and sent it over. Did Gu Yuro accidentally damage the painting, or was it damaged by someone's plot? Wang Haoran had some understanding of the basic plot of the female lead. When the female lead got into trouble, there were usually two situations. One was when she was stupid and did it carelessly. The other was when she was plotted against by the villain. Xiao Wanwan replied. According to Gu Yuro's defense, she was pushed by a girl, and that was why the painting was damaged. However, no one can prove it. I need to check the details before I can reply to you. After reading the message, Wang Haoran was almost certain that the villain of the female lead had plotted against Gu Yuro. Wang Haoran started to think of a countermeasure. If he was stupid, he could just compensate Gu Yuro directly. However, if he was plotted against, compensating would only treat the symptoms and not the root cause. It wouldn't solve the root cause. According to the plot of the female lead would continue to harm Gu Yuro the next time, since she didn't manage to harm her this time. In other words, the plot would be stretched out. Wang Haoran didn't want to clean up her mess and solve her problems every day. The best way was to get rid of the female lead once and for all and shorten Gu Yuro's plot. You don't have to investigate the truth of this matter. Go and check the information of the girl that Gu Yuro said pushed her. I want to know. Wang Haoran typed a message and sent it to Xiao Wanwan. Chapter 479. At the same time, in the classroom of the Language and Literature Department of Qingling Normal University, Gu Yuro was indignant and worried. If she had not been pushed, she would not have damaged the painting in the exhibition. However, the surveillance camera did not capture that position, and no one could testify for her. No one would believe her without any evidence. Therefore, Gu Yuro could only suffer in silence. Of course, she had to compensate for the damaged painting. However, her family was in decline, and she was no longer a rich young lady. Her family's condition was very ordinary. Not to mention 500,000 yuan. They could not even afford 100,000 yuan. If they did not have the money, she would be sued and might even go to jail. Her parents could not afford the money, and her previous relatives sucked the Gu family's blood when they were at their peak. After the Gu family went bankrupt, They revealed their true colors and distanced themselves from the Gu family. They did not interact with the Gu family. The fickleness of human nature was evident. It was impossible to borrow money from her relatives. Gu Yuro was anxious and wanted to use her connections. However, who could she borrow such a huge amount of money from? Her classmates who were on good terms with her were all from ordinary families. How could they have so much money? Moreover, these classmates were still studying and had limited financial resources at their disposal. They could not provide any help at all. Gu Yuro felt a little desperate. As she pondered, she suddenly thought of someone. Gu Yuro's eyes suddenly revealed a complicated look. She had not seen him since that day in the private room of the restaurant. He had not come to look for her either. Normally speaking, Gu Yuro should hate this person who had caused her painful memories. However, the strange thing was that Gu Yuro could not bring herself to hate him. She even thought of him in the middle of the night when she had a dream. Her mind was occupied by his devilish appearance, and she could not get rid of it. Gu Yuro knew it was wrong of her to do this, but she could not forget this person. At this moment, in desperation, Gu Yuro suddenly had the idea of borrowing money from him. However, Gu Yuro quickly dismissed the idea. One must have a backbone. This bad person bullied her so much. How could she ask him for help? She would rather go to jail than ask for his help. Gu Yuro made up her mind. Ring, ring, ring. The bell rang. This was the last class of the afternoon. Gu Yuro kept her books. Looking gloomy, she was ready to leave the classroom and return to her dormitory. However, just as she walked out of the school building, a beautiful girl with an unfriendly expression walked towards her. Gu Yuro gritted her teeth when she saw the girl. She had been pushed by this girl, causing her to lose her balance and fall forward, which was how she tore the painting. Gu Yuro, why do you look so unhappy? What's going on? The pretty girl gloated. After she finished speaking, she suddenly slapped her forehead and said, "Oh, I almost forgot. You damaged a painting by a famous artist. You have to pay 500,000 yuan. Sai, why are you so careless?" Seeing the girl's smug look, Gu Yuro was so angry that her face turned pale. She wished she could give her a slap to vent her anger. However, when he thought of this girl's identity, he forced himself to hold back. The girl in front of him was called Chun Linlin. She was also a student of Normal University and was currently in her 3rd year. Chun Linlin's family was in the hotel chain business, and her family's assets were worth tens of billions. She was definitely a rich girl. Gu Yuro was a 2nd-year student, while Chun Linlin was a 3rd-year student. Both of them were studying in the same faculty. In addition, Gu Yuro lived in the dormitory while Chun Linlin lived in a mansion outside the school. Logically speaking, both of them should not have any interactions and should not have any grudges. However, when a girl targeted another girl, there was no need for a reason. Gu Yuro's biggest sin was that she was too beautiful. Her beauty was her sin. Before Gu Yuro came to Normal University, Chun Linlin had always been the campus belle. Her position was stable and unshakable. When Gu Yuro came, the position of campus belle changed. When Gu Yuro was still a 1st-year student, Chun Linlin had created trouble for her many times. However, it was just a small matter and Gu Yuro tolerated it. She tolerated it from the 1st year to the 2nd year. However, because of Gu Yuro's tolerance, Chun Linlin's behavior became worse. This time, the problem had escalated. Gu Yuro would not be able to afford the compensation and would have to go to jail. Chun Linlin, God is watching. Be careful of retribution, Gu Yuro said hatefully. The anger of a weakling is useless. You can just wash your butt and wait to go to jail. Chun Linlin smiled evilly. A woman like you is too scary. No man will want you in the future. Gu Yuro did not dare to hit her. She could only talk to vent her anger. What are men? They are all dogs. I don't need men. Only a shameless woman like you would think of men every day, Chun Linlin said disdainfully. You. Gu Yuro was speechless. She realized she could not even beat Chun Linlin in talking. However, the main reason was that Gu Yuro felt guilty. Because Chun Linlin's casual nonsense was indeed correct. Recently, Gu Yuro had been thinking of a certain boy. Moreover, this boy was a bad guy and had made her impure. Even so, Gu Yuro still thought of this boy. Guyuro even felt that she was shameless. Guyuro did not dare to hit her, but she could not win the argument either. She could only leave in anger. Chen Linlin was in a good mood. Her beautiful face was filled with a proud smile. She was actually very pretty. It was just that Guyuro was prettier. However, Guyuro was going to jail soon. In the future, she would be the prettiest in the university. Happy birthday, Chen Linlin. While Chen Linlin was feeling proud, a boy suddenly walked over with a bouquet of roses. He handed the bouquet to her with a fawning look. Chen Linlin was stunned when she saw the roses in front of her. It was strange. How did this boy know her birthday? However, this was not important. Chen Linlin reached out and took the bouquet. The boy was overjoyed when he saw it. He wanted to invite Chen Linlin to have a meal together. However, before he could say anything, thud, Chen Linlin threw the bouquet of roses to the ground. She lifted her foot and stomped on the roses. A beautiful bouquet of roses was trampled to pieces. Her actions were practiced. Obviously, this was not the first time she had done this. Get lost, Chen Linlin said coldly to the boy. The boy was dealt a huge blow. He looked dejected and left dejectedly. Chen Linlin snorted. As a fair, rich, and beautiful girl, there were many boys who pursued her. However, Chen Linlin did not like any of them. In her eyes, men were just like dogs. They were disgusting. Chapter 480. At Qingling University. The afternoon classes for the finance department were all full. The second class in the afternoon had just ended, and there were still 2 more classes to be attended. It was the break between classes. Wang Haoran received a message from Xiao Wanwan. I found out that the girl who pushed Guyuro is Chen Linlin, a third-year student at Normal University. Chen Linlin's father is in the hotel industry. He owns a Jinhao hotel chain with hotels all over the country. Although the group is not listed yet, its valuation is not low. It's around 30 to 35 billion yuan. After glancing at Xiao Wanwan's message, Wang Haoran looked calm as if he had expected this. In the main plot of the female genre, the villains who could appear on the stage usually had a strong background. It was either their family or the villains themselves who were strong. Jinhao Hotel Chain. Wang Haoran found it familiar. Wasn't the hotel where Qin Fan had his meal called Jinhao Hotel? With this thought in mind, Wang Haoran went online to search for information about Jinhao Hotel. Soon, he found out that the headquarters of Jinhao Hotel Chain was in Qingling University. Wang Haoran was not too willing to make a trip to Normal University as he did not want to see Guyuro. After thinking for a while, Wang Haoran opened his phone records, found Wang Xiang's number, and dialed it. Dad, do you know the big boss of Jinhao Hotel Chain? Chen San, right? I'm not very familiar with him, but we can talk a little, Wang Xiang replied, and asked in a low voice. My dear son, why are you suddenly asking about this? Did Chen San offend you? Do you want me to get someone to deal with him? No, Wang Haoran said. Chen San has a daughter called Chen Linlin. She is always picking on a stupid friend of mine. Can you contact Chen San and ask him to teach his daughter not to pick on my stupid friend in the future? Oh yes, my stupid friend is called Guyuro. Hearing Wang Haoran call his friend stupid, Wang Xiang was stunned. However, he did not ask further and agreed immediately. Okay, I'll call him now. After ending the call with his son, he flipped through his address book, found Chen San's number, and dialed it. As business tycoons of Qingling, they often attended events together. As long as they weren't enemies, they would at least have some friendship. After the phone rang a few times, someone picked it up. Old Wang, what can I do for you? Chen San asked with a smile. Old Chen, your hotel business is doing very well. Isn't it because I wanted to learn from you? Wang Xiang said jokingly. Old Wang, don't make fun of me. Your Wang family has so many businesses, and they are all doing so well. I don't believe that you will get involved in the hotel industry. Moreover, Qingling's hotel business is already saturated, so it would be a waste of money to get involved. Chen San analyzed the situation and said directly, if you have something to say, just say it. No wonder your business is doing so well. You have good observation skills. Wang Xiang complimented him and went straight to the point. Your daughter, Chen Linlin, has been picking on a friend of my son's called Guyuro in school. Therefore, I would like you to discuss with your daughter and ask her not to pick on my son's friend in the future. This, I can't reply to you immediately. I'll give you a moment. Chun-Sen did not agree immediately. His daughter was very willful and arrogant. Therefore, he was not confident that he could make this happen. I'll wait for your good news. Wang Xiang guessed that Chun-Sen wanted to discuss with Chen Linlin. Therefore, he smiled and hung up the phone. Chun-Sen immediately called his daughter. However, the waiting tone didn't ring twice before the other party hung up. Chun-Sen thought that his daughter was in class, so he sent a message asking his daughter to call him back when she was free. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Chen Linlin called back. Linlin, is your class over? Chun-Sen looked at her lovingly, and his tone was very friendly. I was playing King of Glory just now. It's all your fault for making so much noise that I lost the game. It's so annoying. Chen Linlin's anxious voice came from the phone. Chun-Sen was not angry when he heard that. He seemed to be used to it, and continued speaking in a gentle tone. Linlin, do you have a grudge with someone called Guyuro in school? How did you know? Chen Linlin found it strange. Wang Xiang from Wang Group just called me and told me that his son is friends with Guyuro. Therefore, he asked me to discuss with you and ask you not to pick on Guyuro in the future. What do you think? Chun-Sen asked. When Chen Linlin heard that, she was shocked and annoyed. She had not expected Guyuro to have a rich friend. If Guyuro's rich friend helped Guyuro return the 500,000, Guyuro would not have to go to jail. This was not what Chen Linlin wanted to see. However, if Guyuro insisted on doing so, she could not stop her. She could only think of another way to deal with Guyuro. It's impossible for me not to pick on Guyuro, Chen Linlin replied to Chun-Sen. Her tone was firm. Linlin, Wang Group is a big company. There's no need to provoke them. Just give them some face, Chun-Sen advised. Hey, you're the boss of a company worth tens of billions. Why are you so afraid of this and that? Wang Group is so great. Why do you have to give him face? Chen Linlin said angrily. And Wang Xiang's son, who does he think he is? If he wants me not to pick on Guyuro, I won't pick on Guyuro. What a joke. Can't we discuss this? Chun-Sen asked again. No. Yes. Yes. Chen Linlin said firmly. All right, I'll reply to Wang Xiang now. Chun-Sen was used to his daughter's arrogance. After hearing what his daughter said, he did not continue to persuade her. Although Wang Group was not to be trifled with, he was not to be trifled with. Why should he let his daughter suffer and cater to others? After ending the call with Chen Linlin, Chun-Sen called Wang Xiang. Old Wang, I'm sorry. My daughter said that it's impossible for her to give up on picking on Guyuro, Chun-Sen said directly. Wang Xiang thought he could wait for good news, so he was smiling. However, after hearing what Chun-Sen said, his chubby face sank instantly. Chun-Sen cared about what his daughter thought, and Wang Xiang cared about what his son thought. If he, as a father, could not even do such a small thing, how could he face his son? Chun-Sen, we're considered acquaintances. If possible, I don't want to fall out with you. Are you sure you don't want to discuss this with your daughter? Wang Xiang's tone turned cold. He did not hold back and called Chun-Sen by his full name. Wang Xiang, it's not up to you to teach me how to do things, Chun-Sen replied with a cold smile. Chun-Sen, just you wait. After saying that, Wang Xiang hung up angrily and called Wang Haoran. At that moment, Wang Haoran was in class. When he saw Wang Xiang's call, he leaned over and used the desk as cover to answer the call secretly. My dear son, Chun-Sen did not give me face. But don't worry, leave this to me. I'll get someone to kidnap Chun-Sen's daughter. Let's see if he can still be so arrogant. Wang Xiang said, You'd better not interfere. I'll handle this myself. Wang Haoran lowered his voice and tried to dissuade him. After hanging up the phone, he left the classroom. Anyway, with Lu Yu's protection, skipping class was a small problem. When he arrived at the campus parking lot, Wang Haoran drove the Pagani to the normal university. He wanted to save some trouble, but in the end, he still had to settle it. Chen Linlin, is it? Wang Haoran was determined to educate this rich girl. Otherwise, he would not be able to make this trip. Chapter 481. A Pagani drove into the campus of Normal University under the horrified gazes of many students. It then stopped at an open space on the side of the campus. The door of the driver's seat opened, and Wang Haoran stepped out of the car. His tall figure and handsome face made the girls who passed by very happy. The boys, on the other hand, looked at him with envy and jealousy. Wang Haoran didn't pay attention to the surrounding gazes. Chen Linlin, a third-year student, a rich girl. Although these 3 pieces of information were a bit brief, it wasn't difficult to find someone in normal university with this information. Wang Haoran walked towards the nearest few girls and asked them about Chen Linlin. These 3 girls weren't familiar with Chen Linlin, but they knew who she was. In the normal university, Chen Linlin was considered a famous figure and was very famous. As long as one was a student of this university, even if they hadn't seen Chen Linlin before, they would know who she was. These girls were from the student council. They asked a third-year girl in the student council to help them find out about Chen Linlin. Not long after, the girl came back with news. Chen Linlin's class didn't have classes in the afternoon. She was currently in a female dormitory. The third-year girl in the student council brought Wang Haoran to a female dormitory. Wang Haoran couldn't go in. The third-year girl who knew Chen Linlin took the initiative to ask for her help. After agreeing, the girl immediately went into the dormitory to ask for her. Walking down the stairs, they arrived at a room on the 3rd floor. Chen Linlin was playing League of Legends with a few other girls. "Sister Linlin, someone is looking for you downstairs." The girl spoke very carefully. Chen Linlin was a rich girl with a very bad temper. She could do whatever she wanted in class and even in school. The girls didn't dare to provoke her. At this time, Chen Linlin was staring at her phone screen with an unhappy expression. It was obvious that she was in a bad mood. This was because Chen Linlin's game character, Sun Shangxiang, was already dead. A few girls surrounded her, but it was no use at all. However, the 4 girls couldn't be blamed. Chen Linlin was just too noob. This Chen Linlin was the type of player who liked to choose archers despite being a noob. There weren't many classes in the 3rd year. Chen Linlin's class only had 1 class in the afternoon. After this class, Chen Linlin had nothing to do. The afternoon was very long, far from the time to rest. She did not return to the mansion outside the school. Instead, she went to the female dormitory of her class on a whim and pulled a few girls she knew to play games. "Who is looking for me?" Chen Linlin happened to be counting down. When she heard the girl's question, she responded. "A boy is looking for you. He drives a Pagani," the girl whispered. "He's rich." Chen Linlin exclaimed, and then said disdainfully, "Pagani is amazing. I also have a pink Lafarge, limited in the world." At this moment, Chen Linlin's character was revived. Chen Linlin's attention returned to the game. Seeing that Chen Linlin didn't seem to have any intention of going downstairs, the girl said, "Sister Linlin, that boy is very handsome. Are you sure you don't want to meet him?" "I don't care how handsome he is. I'm playing games now. Just say that I'm not free. Tell him to go away. Me, F***, I'm so annoyed." Chen Linlin replied as she played the game. The game character was killed by the invisible Prince of Lonling as soon as she got down from the high ground, so she was annoyed. "Sister Linlin, that handsome guy is obviously not from our school. He must be interested in you and wants to pursue you. Shouldn't you at least go and take a look?" The girl didn't want to disappoint the handsome guy waiting downstairs, so she tried to persuade her. "Pursue me? I think he wants to F***king sleep with me. Do you think I don't know what boys are like?" Chen Linlin's tone was disdainful. Although she had never been in a relationship, she still saw it clearly. What bullshit love was this? Boys chasing girls were just thinking about that kind of thing. Chen Linlin hated boys. She never cared about any boy's pursuit. No matter how handsome they were, she didn't like them. She never thought about being in a relationship, because if she was in a relationship, she would be. After hearing Chen Linlin's words, the girl who came to pass the message didn't continue to persuade her. Chen Linlin was already very annoyed. If she continued, she might get angry. The girl left the dorm helplessly and returned to the entrance of the dorm. "Handsome, Chen Linlin is busy. She can't come down." The girl felt that Chen Linlin's words were too harsh. She didn't want to say it out loud, so she tactfully conveyed Chen Linlin's thoughts. Wang Haoran couldn't help but frown. Since he was here, how could he leave empty-handed? "Tell her that I'll wait for another 10 minutes. If she still doesn't come down, I'll go to the dorm and drag her out," Wang Haoran said in a low voice as he lost his patience. "Huh? Are you really going to tell Chen Linlin that?" The girl was shocked. "Yes, Please tell her exactly what I said. Wang Haoran replied with certainty. Handsome, what's your name? The girl heard from his tone that he seemed to know Chun Linlin, so she wanted to ask for his name. This way, Chun Linlin might change her mind. Hearing the question, Wang Haoran was stunned. He didn't know Chun Linlin, so it was useless to say his name. But it wouldn't affect anything if he said it. Wang Haoran. The girl nodded and walked into the dorm building again. She came to the dorm where Chun Linlin was. Sister Linlin, that handsome guy said his name is Wang Haoran. You should know him, right? The girl came close to Chun Linlin and asked aloud. Wang Haoran? One old-fashioned name. Chun Linlin subconsciously complained. Then she thought of something and asked the girl in front of her, You just said that he drives a Pagani, right? Yes, he drives a Pagani, the girl said. Chun Linlin snorted coldly. Chun Sin had mentioned the name Wang Haoran when he had spoken to him on the phone. Wang Haoran, who came to look for her, must be the rich second-generation heir who wanted to stand up for Gu Yuro. She didn't expect Wang Haoran to come to her school to look for her after his father failed to help him. Did he think she was easy to bully? If that was what he thought, then he was gravely mistaken. Did he say anything else? Chun Linlin asked. The girl saw Chun Linlin's expression and faintly felt that something was wrong. But she still braced herself and replied, He said he'll wait for 10 minutes. He said he'll wait downstairs for 10 minutes. If you don't come down, he'll come in and drag you out. How many people did he bring? Chun Linlin's expression turned solemn. Just one person, the girl said. One person? Is he so arrogant? Chun Linlin couldn't help but laugh. Then, she glanced at the 090 numbers and lost the mood to play games. If she continued to play games, she would die a few more times and watch the base explode. Chun Linlin surrendered directly and went to the dorm to call for help. As a rich girl who was domineering, she was not alone. She had her own small team. In this small team, most of them were from the sports department. They were all tall and strong girls who were much stronger than ordinary boys. Chapter 482. In the open space outside the dormitory building, Wang Haoran kept looking at his phone, calculating the time. After waiting for about 3 to 4 minutes, the girl who passed the message hurriedly ran out of the dormitory building. Chun Linlin went to call for help. She seems to want to harm you. You'd better leave quickly. The girl looked nervous. As she spoke, she looked back, afraid that someone would see her passing the message. Thank you for passing the message. Wang Haoran didn't have any intention of leaving. He just smiled at the delicate girl in front of him in a friendly manner. Seeing this smile, the girl was dazzled and felt like she was going to faint. Why didn't you listen to me? That Chun Linlin is very bad. If you don't leave, you'll be beaten up. After coming back to her senses, the girl reminded him again. I won't. Wang Haoran shook his head and continued to wait in place. Seeing that she couldn't persuade him, the girl felt helpless. Afraid that Chun Linlin's people would find out that she was a snitch, she didn't dare to stay by Wang Haoran's side for a while and immediately distanced herself. She found a dormitory where she could see the scene at the entrance of the dormitory building and watch from afar. Not long after, 8 or 9 strong girls surrounded a beautiful girl and walked out of the dormitory building. Wang Haoran hadn't seen Chun Linlin before, but he had heard some news from the girl who passed the message. He could vaguely guess that this girl who was surrounded was the Chun Linlin he was looking for. While he was thinking, Chun Linlin also came to a few meters in front of Wang Haoran. 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. There was no system notification. Wang Haoran immediately understood that the Super Peach Blossom Halo didn't trigger any effect. The Super Peach Blossom Halo's triggering rate was double for the female supporting lead. But even so, it still didn't trigger. His luck today wasn't very good. However, Wang Haoran wasn't very disappointed. After all, the Super Peach Blossom Halo's effect had already been triggered twice, and it was effective on the female lead. This was already very good. It was a bit whimsical to say that the Super Peach Blossom Halo would be triggered every time. But it wasn't a big problem, because Chun Linlin wasn't the female lead. To a certain extent, it was actually a good thing that the Super Peach Blossom Halo did not trigger its effect. He communicated with the system and issued a command. Ding! The host has successfully used Charm Halo on the female lead villain, Chun Linlin. Chun Linlin's favorability towards the host has increased to 100 points. After Wang Haoran received the system notification, he turned his attention back to Chun Linlin. Chun Linlin originally came with a look of displeasure, but at this moment, the displeasure on her face had completely disappeared. She stared fixedly at Wang Haoran, her eyes revealing an incomparable infatuation. How could there be such a good-looking guy in this world? Chun Linlin was shocked. Before this, she had always thought that she would never meet a boy she liked. She looked down on boys and even compared boys to dogs. When she was in her adolescence, she had always had a philosophy for herself. That was to pursue celibacy, and he had always practiced it. She had never been in a relationship with a boy in her entire life. After all, being in a relationship meant being that. She treated boys like dogs. That was equivalent to being a dog. Of course, Chun Linlin was unhappy. But at this moment, Chun Linlin's philosophy collapsed. She suddenly wanted to be in a relationship. Although being in a relationship for a long time would mean being, but if it was the person in front of her, it was completely acceptable. Sister Linlin? The strong girls who surrounded Chun Linlin saw that Chun Linlin was in a daze and did not say a word for a long time, and felt a little puzzled. Among them, a strong girl called out to her. Chun Linlin quickly came back to her senses and shyly retracted her gaze, looking at Wang Haoran's eyes. But as soon as she retracted her gaze, she couldn't help but cast her gaze on his face again. Too handsome, too mesmerizing. Chun Linlin felt that she had completely fallen. "You're Chun Linlin?" Wang Haoran suddenly asked. "Yes, I am." Hello. Chun Linlin was a little reserved as she stretched out her hand. The strong girls in Chun Linlin's group looked at each other in astonishment. Wasn't she here to teach him a lesson? Why was Chun Linlin so friendly? Although the boy in front of her was very handsome, Chun Linlin had always been immune to handsome guys. What was going on? Don't pick on Gu Yuro in the future. Do you understand? Wang Haoran glanced at Chun Linlin's outstretched hand and did not respond. He only said this aloud. Hearing this, a strong sense of jealousy flashed across Chun Linlin's blurred eyes. Wang Haoran's words reminded her. The reason why the two of them had met was entirely because of Gu Yuro. "What's your relationship with Gu Yuro?" Chun Linlin asked with a frown. "I asked you to answer the question, not ask." Wang Haoran took the initiative, so of course he would not be so polite with his words. Moreover, Chun Linlin was a female supporting villain after all. It might not be effective to persuade her not to pick on Gu Yuro. It would be more effective to have a bad attitude. The wicked needed to be dealt with by the wicked. This saying made sense. When Chun Linlin heard Wang Haoran's tone, she was unhappy. She was used to being unreasonable at home and outside. No one had ever spoken to her in such a bad tone. Chun Linlin was a little angry, but when she glanced at the handsome face in front of her, she was like a deflated balloon. "All right, I won't pick on Gu Yuro in the future. Are you satisfied?" Chun Linlin said softly. Wang Haoran waited for a few seconds after hearing this. There wasn't even the slightest reaction from the system. From this, he could tell that Chun Linlin was pretending to agree. If Chun Linlin really agreed, the main storyline between Gu Yuro and Chun Linlin would be over. He would be rewarded. While he was thinking, Wang Haoran suddenly saw Chun Linlin looking behind him with jealousy and resentment. Wang Haoran was confused and turned to follow Chun Linlin's gaze. He saw Gu Yuro walking toward the entrance of the dormitory. As Gu Yuro had something on her mind, she looked worried and lowered her head as she walked. When she reached the entrance of the dormitory, she saw someone in front of her from the corner of her eye and looked up. Gu Yuro saw Wang Haoran, Chun Linlin, and some strong girls who followed Chun Linlin's lead. Seeing this scene, Gu Yuro was stunned. She did not understand the situation. However, she did not stay for long. She lowered her head and walked into the dormitory. Then, she hurried back to a bedroom on the second floor. The bedroom that Gu Yuro was staying in was facing the entrance of the dormitory. She could hear and see the scene at the entrance of the dormitory from the window. Because of Gu Yuro's passing, Wang Haoran and Chun Linlin fell into a short silence. Chun Linlin looked jealously at Gu Yuro disappearing from sight and then looked away. Wang Haoren had X-ray vision and could see Gu Yuro leaning against the window and peeking at them. For a moment, Wang Haoren had a strange feeling in his heart. This scene was very similar to the melodramatic plot in the Women's Channel. Wang Haoren wanted to reject the melodramatic plot and leave the plot, but he had to bear with it for the sake of the villain. After calming himself down, Wang Haoren looked at Chen Linlin with a scrutinizing gaze and warned her in a low voice, "Gu Yuro, you have a grudge with Gu Yuro. What is the grudge between you and Gu Yuro? You're not allowed to target her in the future, or I won't let you off." When he spoke, he deliberately raised his voice. Gu Yuro, who was hiding on the second floor, must have heard him if she was not deaf. Chapter 483. What? What does he mean? Gu Yuro, who was hiding by the window on the second floor, heard Wang Haoren's words, and her heart was stirred. This guy had used such means to bully her the other day. He must have found her an eyesore and hated her. Why was he defending her? Did he like her? Gu Yuro could not help but feel happy when this thought popped up in her head. Ding! The favorability of the female lead, Gu Yuro, has increased by 5 points. Current favorability is 55, admiration. Ding! The host pretended to be the male lead of the female lead and successfully advanced into the main plot. The reward is 900 villain points. Gu Yuro's protagonist aura minus 45. The host's villain aura plus 45. Wang Haoren had received his reward. The discomfort caused by the melodramatic plot had also dissipated by quite a bit. At the same time, his eyes, which had lost focus due to his thoughts, focused again on Chen Linlin's face. Chen Linlin's eyes were filled with jealousy. She had always been jealous of Gu Yuro's good looks. Now, the guy she liked valued Gu Yuro so much. Her hatred for Gu Yuro deepened. Wang Haoren caught Chen Linlin's emotions and suddenly felt that something was wrong. He was here to deal with Chen Linlin so that she would not target Gu Yuro in the future. Now, because of the melodramatic plot, Chen Linlin was even more jealous of Gu Yuro. If this was allowed to develop, Chen Linlin's plot against Gu Yuro would be lengthened until it was longer than the old lady's foot-binding cloth. Wang Haoren did not want to always clean up Gu Yuro's mess. He did not have the time to do so. If he wanted to deal with Chen Linlin, he could directly poison her and let her die. However, this was not worth it. Chen Linlin was, after all, the daughter of a rich family and was deeply loved by her father, Chen San. She could influence Chen San's thoughts to a large extent. If used well, she would be a good help. In addition, Chen Linlin's favorability was maxed out, and there was no problem with her loyalty. However, Gu Yuro was eavesdropping and watching. It was not suitable to make peace with Chen Linlin or make her submit to him. Thinking of this, Wang Haoren suddenly said to Chen Linlin, "Come with me." After saying that, he turned around and walked along a road towards a direction outside the dormitory building. Chen Linlin didn't even think about it and immediately followed him. "Sister Linlin," those strong girls hurriedly shouted out. "Don't follow me." Chen Linlin stopped in her tracks and stopped her. She then jogged after Wang Haoren's departing figure. Along the campus path, Chen Linlin followed Wang Haoren to a quiet place. There was no one else in sight for the time being. Wang Haoren stopped and turned around to look at Chen Linlin. "I told you to follow me, so you followed me. Aren't you afraid?" Wang Haoren revealed a thought-provoking smile. When Chen Linlin heard this, she was a little flustered. But after thinking about it, could it be that he would hit her? If she really wanted to hit him, he could just beg for mercy. It couldn't be that he didn't have any tender feelings for the fair sex, right? If he didn't want to hit her, then it could only be that kind of intention. However, surprisingly, Chen Linlin didn't feel afraid at all. In fact, she even felt an inexplicable sense of anticipation. With these thoughts in mind, Chen Linlin felt fearless. She raised her voice to respond to his words. "What are you afraid of? Are you going to eat me up?" "Actually, Gu Yuro and I are not what you think." Wang Haoren went straight to the point. "If you don't like Gu Yuro, why are you speaking up for her? Why did you specially come to me to warn me not to target her?" Chen Linlin found it strange. "On the contrary, not only do I not like her, I even hate her," Wang Haoren said seriously. "Are you trying to get her to like you and then get rid of her after you win her heart?" Chen Linlin guessed Wang Haoran's thoughts using the psychology of a villain. You're right. So, I hope you can cooperate with me. As for what remuneration you want, you can tell me. How much is it? Wang Haoran pretended to negotiate with her. I don't lack money. Can I ask for anything else? Chen Linlin bargained. Tell me. If it's within my ability, I'll consider it, Wang Haoran replied. Do you have a girlfriend? Chen Linlin asked boldly. Yes. Chen Linlin was stunned and disappointment appeared on her face. But I don't mind having one more. After Wang Haoran saw the change in Chen Linlin's expression, how could he not know what she was thinking? He immediately added, anyway, they were both villains. There was no need to beat around the bush. It didn't matter if she asked for too much. Aren't you too much of a jerk? Chen Linlin was dumbfounded. I didn't ask you to agree. Wang Haoran found it funny. Chen Linlin was stunned for a moment. What he said seemed to make sense. If she didn't agree, she wouldn't be a jerk. Moreover, compared to those ordinary scumbags, he was considered to be very kind. At least he explained the situation in advance. He wasn't the kind of guy who pretended to be affectionate on the surface, but secretly had an affair. Changed to other conditions, Wang Haoran said again. No, this is it. Chen Linlin hesitated for a moment and quickly made a decision. What? Wang Haoran pretended not to understand. Let me be your girlfriend, and I won't go against Gu Yuro in the future. Chen Linlin said this with a red face. After saying this, she wanted to scold herself. I'm so king cheap. This guy was such a jerk. Why did she stick to him? But she hated that she wanted to be a jerk. She really wanted it. Happy cooperation. Wang Haoran stretched out his hand as if he was expressing friendship after a successful business deal. Chen Linlin only felt a little strange, but still reached out her hand to shake his. Ding! The host pretended to be the male lead of the female channel and ended the plot against the female lead, Gu Yuro. The reward is 2,200 villain points. Gu Yuro's protagonist aura minus 110. The host's villain aura plus 110. Wang Haoran received the reward as he wished and immediately wanted to let go of Chen Linlin's hand. However, he realized that Chen Linlin was holding on tightly. You should be free now, right? I'll bring you around the normal university. The scenery here is pretty good. Chen Linlin smiled sweetly and invited him. Oh yes, I forgot to ask you something. Wang Haoran suddenly thought of something. What is it? Ask away, Chen Linlin said. Have you been in love before? Is it? Wang Haoran didn't say it clearly, but gave her a you-know look. Chen Linlin understood and quickly said, of course. I don't believe it. Wang Haoran snorted. He glanced at Chen Linlin from top to bottom and said something shocking. He then asked, which hotel nearby is the cleanest? Chapter 484. Hearing Wang Haoran's words, Chen Linlin was stunned for a while before she regained her senses. Even if he was a jerk, he should not be such a jerk. They had just met, and he had already gone overboard. He was too despicable. Chen Linlin wanted to wave her hand and say, get lost. However, when the words reached her mouth, they became, I have a mansion nearby, and I live alone. As soon as she said that, Chen Linlin felt so ashamed that she couldn't show her face. However, she still hoped that Wang Haoran would respond quickly. All right, I believe you. You don't have to prove it. Wang Haoran put away his doubtful look and suddenly smiled. Chen Linlin was a little dizzy from this set of actions. What was going on? She had already agreed, but he actually went back on his word. Chen Linlin felt that the embarrassment she had suffered today was 10 times more than the embarrassment she had suffered in the past 20 years. Can you accompany me for a walk outside? Her tone was almost pleading, and she looked pitiful. If this expression was seen by those who knew Chen Linlin well, they would be shocked. Chen Linlin herself had never imagined that she would become such a bootlicker one day. No, it was not a bootlicker. It should be affection. Chen Linlin corrected herself in her heart. But this request was very simple. Wang Haoran saw Chen Linlin's pitiful look and wanted to agree. However, just as he said one word, he suddenly used his X-ray vision and saw Gu Yuro peeking at them from behind a tree not far away. Gu Yuro is peeking over there. We can't let her find out that we have that kind of relationship. Next time, Wang Haoran said softly. Chen Linlin glanced around and saw a part of her skirt peeking out from behind a big tree not far away. She remembered that Gu Yuro was wearing a long dress today. All right, please remember. Chen Linlin did not dare to ruin Wang Haoren's plan. She replied softly and then solemnly reminded him, Gu Yuro is too despicable. This Gu Yuro is too hateful. Since you want to deal with her, I'll let you deal with her. But remember to count me in. After you get her, it's best to make her pregnant a few times and then dump her ruthlessly. Oh yes, it's best to take a video and post it online. Let her die. Chen Linlin looked mischievous as she gave Wang Haoren an idea. Wang Haoren was stunned for a few seconds. Then, he remembered that Chen Linlin was a female supporting character in a female channel. She had a bad heart, so he understood. I'll do my best. Wang Haoren lowered his voice and replied perfunctorily. Then he suddenly raised his voice and said, Chen Linlin, remember what I said. If you continue to go against Gu, I won't let you. Don't do anything rash. I won't target Gu Yuro in the future. Chen Linlin pretended to be afraid and played along with Wang Haoren's act. Scram. Wang Haoren coldly threw out a word. Chen Linlin walked in the other direction, where Gu Yuro was hiding and left gloomily. Wang Haoren saw this and prepared to leave. However, he left in the opposite direction of Chen Linlin. After walking for a distance, he passed by the big tree where Gu Yuro was hiding and pulled her out. You saw everything? Wang Haoren asked, even though he knew the answer. I saw everything. However, don't think that I'll forgive you just because you did this. Gu Yuro was secretly happy, but on the surface, she looked disdainful and looked at Wang Haoren as if she was looking at an enemy. Wang Haoren did not feel strange when he heard what she said. The love and hate entanglement in a female novel was the most melodramatic. In a conventional main plot of a female novel, the female protagonist and the male protagonist would never get along well with each other until the end of the story. Even if there was, it was only temporary. This had a lot to do with the main character of the female channel. Many female protagonists usually had a setting, and that was to be stubborn. Although they liked the male protagonist, they would not admit it verbally and would treat the male protagonist as an enemy. He had tortured himself to the point of hovering between life and death, yet he still seemed to feel particularly satisfied. Gu Yuro was a typical female protagonist. When faced with this kind of manipulation from a female protagonist like Gu Yuro, the male protagonist's reaction was to deny it and say that he was good to the female protagonist for other reasons and not because he liked her. Wang Haoren felt that it was very melodramatic, but in order to get the reward for impersonating the male protagonist, he could only put himself in the role. He organized his words and said, Woman, don't think too much. I just don't like Chen Linlin, so I talked to her about something. It has nothing to do with you. After saying that, Wang Haoren had an arrogant look on his face as he prepared to leave. However, when Gu Yuro heard this, she believed him. It turned out that he didn't do it because he liked her. Thinking of this, Gu Yuro felt sad and disappointed. Then, she remembered that she had been bullied. She flew into a rage out of humiliation and shouted at Wang Haoren's back. You bad guy, leave this place quickly. I don't want to see you ever again. I'll take it that I was crushed by a ghost. Hearing this, Wang Haoren stopped in his tracks, but he still forced himself to endure this melodramatic plot and continued to walk forward. However, there were hurried footsteps behind him. Soon, Wang Haoren felt someone bump into his shoulder. He turned his head and saw that it was Gu Yuro. The road was wide, and Gu Yuro was not blind. Logically speaking, it was impossible for her to bump into him. Obviously, Gu Yuro did it on purpose. I was careless. Don't do anything rash. If you do, I'll scream. Gu Yuro did that out of anger. When she saw Wang Haoren looking at her expressionlessly, she could not help but panic. However, amidst the panic, there was an inexplicable expectation. At this moment, Wang Haoren could not tolerate this melodramatic plot anymore. He had the urge to tie Gu Yuro up and hang her on a tree to dry. However, he thought of Gu Yuro's super lucky halo. When she was being persecuted, she could escape. She could turn the degree of persecution into bad luck and use it on the person who persecuted her. Yin Yin Tian had personally experienced the power of this halo. As a witness, Wang Haoren also saw it clearly. He immediately dismissed the idea of teaching Guyuro a lesson. However, he felt very aggrieved. If it were not for the antagonist point, he would not have participated in this melodramatic plot. Teaching Guyuro a lesson did not seem to require persecution. Wang Haoran suddenly thought of something. Guyuro, the female lead, was very special. Based on Guyuro's character design, he had deduced that her main plot was very cruel. In fact, it had been verified. As long as he followed the main plot and avoided triggering her halo, there was still a feasible way to vent his anger. "Follow me," Wang Haoran said to Guyuro coldly. "Go, where are we going?" Guyuro was afraid and curious. "Cut the crap. Just follow me. Otherwise, you'll have to bear the consequences." Wang Haoran walked in front with a ferocious look on his face. Guyuro was very afraid and could only follow him obediently. Chapter 485. Ding. The favorability of the female lead, Guyuro, has increased by 5 points. Current favorability is 60. Admiration. Ding. The host pretended to be the male lead of the female lead and successfully advanced the main plot. The reward is 900 villain points. Guyuro's protagonist, aura, minus 45. The host's villain, aura, plus 45. Wang Haoran accepted the reward happily. Then, he quickly left the hotel room and went to the front desk to pay the bill. Wretch. Guyuro's face was red. She retched for a while and went to the washroom to rinse her mouth. It was evening and the sky was getting dark. Wang Haoran hurried to the hotel parking lot and drove the Pagani away. There was a message from Lu Yin on his phone. It was sent half an hour ago. Lu Yin said in the message that she was very upset and wanted him to talk to her. Wang Haoran could vaguely guess what it was about. He drove out of the hotel parking lot and went to the Academy of Arts. He successfully met Lu Yin. Lu Yin looked very haggard, and she was a little thin. "My brother." "He's dead," Lu Yin said sadly. When did this happen?" Wang Haoran pretended to be surprised. "It happened a few days ago. I was afraid that it would affect your mood, so I didn't tell you. But I feel very upset, so I wanted to talk to you." "Am I bothering you?" Lu Yin said humbly. "Silly girl, why would I? You should have told me earlier. That way, I could have shared your emotions." Wang Haoran sighed and then asked, "How did your brother die?" "He died from a needle in between his eyebrows. We can't find the murderer and the case is pending. In a few days, I'll go and collect my brother's body and deal with his funeral," Lu Yin said. "Let me know when the time comes, and I'll help. I'll find a good place for your brother to bury him." Wang Haoran touched Lu Yin's head and wanted to comfort her. Of course, helping Lu Yin with Lu Chen's funeral was not just a perfunctory gesture. He really wanted to help. Wang Haoran had already thought of a good place to bury Lu Chen. It was at the top of Qingling Mountain. Lin Chun and Yin Yuntian were both buried there. If Lu Chun went there, he would have company. "It's all thanks to you." During this period of time, Lu Yin had only felt mentally and physically exhausted. After hearing Wang Haoran's words, she felt that she had someone to rely on and was extremely touched. Like a young swallow, she threw herself into his arms. Lu Yin greedily felt the warmth in his arms and calmed down a little. "I told my brother that the villa was unlucky, but he didn't listen." Lu Yin sighed again. "It's all in the past. Don't think too much about it." Wang Haoran comforted her again. Lu Yin nodded obediently. She adjusted her mood and said, "Our school has a cultural performance tonight. Do you want to stay and watch?" She wasn't actually in the mood to watch the joint performance, but she wanted to spend more time with Wang Haoran, so she came up with an excuse. "Sure." Wang Haoran immediately agreed. Lu Yin was actually quite pitiful. Lu Chun was already dead, and only his dying grandfather was left. He didn't have much time to live. And from the looks of it, Lu Yin was the only female lead who had a favorability of 100, life and death together. If only counting the female leads, Lu Yin's tolerance and care for him was the highest. Wang Haoran didn't feel any pressure at all when interacting with Lu Yin, because Lu Yin would do her best to make him happy and wouldn't give him any uneasiness or pressure. Such a girl only made such a small request. How could he not agree? Moreover, there were many beauties in the Academy of Arts. The joint performance should be something to watch, right? It was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. "Have you eaten?" Wang Haoren looked at Lu Yan's thin and haggard appearance and couldn't help but ask, I haven't had an appetite recently. I'm not in the mood to eat, Lu Yan replied. Silly, you have to eat. Look at you. You've lost weight from hunger. The places that shouldn't have shrunk. Didn't you notice? Wang Haoren sized her up and reminded her. I think so. Lu Yan was shocked. She really didn't notice it before, but now that Wang Haoren mentioned it, she immediately noticed it. Although her curves were still very good, but she still wanted to make herself more perfect, because this way, it would be easier to please her lover. Coincidentally, I haven't eaten either. Let's go eat first, Wang Haoren suggested. Okay. Lu Yan nodded. Wang Haoren drove Lu Yan to a nearby restaurant to eat. At the same time, the joint performance of the Academy of Arts was also in the midst of intense preparations. Some of the students who needed to perform on stage had already put on their makeup early. In one of the male toilets on campus, a beautiful woman with a perfect figure and an impeccable face walked out. A boy who was about to enter the male toilets couldn't help but be stunned when he saw her. But this beautiful woman didn't take it seriously and didn't think there was anything wrong with entering the male toilets. Her expression was indifferent as she left on her own. Along the way, from time to time, there would be some people who were shocked by this beautiful woman's appearance and would look over to size her up. This beautiful woman was wearing a Han Chinese costume and was filled with a delicate classical beauty, as if she had walked out of an ancient beauty painting. Who is this beautiful woman? She's not worse than the campus belle Lu Yan. Why haven't I seen her before? She shouldn't be from our school. There's a joint performance tonight. This beautiful woman is dressed like this. She must be one of the students who will perform on stage. How could she not be from our school? Some people started to discuss intensely about the background of this beauty. On the other side, after Wang Haoren and Lu Yan had their fill, they rested for a while and returned to the Academy of Arts. Lu Yan's originally pale face also regained some healthy redness after the meal. After getting out of the car, Lu Yan brought Wang Haoren to the square. The cultural performance was held in the Grand Square. At this time, the performance was about to begin. The square was crowded with people. Wang Haoren glanced around and saw a large number of beautiful women and handsome men. Wang Haoren automatically filtered out those handsome men and mainly looked at those beautiful women. However, after a rough glance, he was slightly disappointed. Although there were many beautiful women in the Academy of Arts, compared to the top beauties, they were not even as good as Qingling University. Qingling University had 4 campus belles in the first year alone. And in the Academy of Arts, except for Lu Yan, there seemed to be no one else who could be compared to Qin Yunhan and the others. Wang Haoren looked away dispiritedly. But the moment he looked away, a beautiful woman in a Han Chinese costume suddenly entered his vision. Wang Haoren's eyes suddenly lit up. This beautiful woman could not be compared to Feng Xuansu and Tantai Yaoyue, who were at the level of disaster. After all, these two people's appearance, temperament, and figure were all very rare in the world. However, this beautiful woman could arm wrestle with Yu Shiqing. It was also very rare. If there were no surprises, this should be the female lead. Wang Haoren made a judgment in his heart. Then, he continued to look at the beautiful woman in the Han Chinese costume, who was full of classical charm. Wang Haoren admired for a few seconds, and then, out of habit, he activated his X-ray vision. In his heart, he could not help but feel a little hot. However, something that a beautiful woman should not have suddenly entered Wang Haoren's vision. Wang Haoren's eyes suddenly widened. He put his hands in his hair and hugged his head tightly. His scalp was numb. Goosebumps appeared all over his body. Uncomfortable, extremely uncomfortable. It was as if he had just eaten a delicious meal, but after entering his mouth, he found that it was a pile of rice field. Wang Haoren felt like he was going crazy. Chapter 486. Wang Haoren felt pain in his eyes and quickly turned off his X-ray vision. However, the feeling of disgust did not completely disappear. This beautiful woman, whose appearance was comparable to Yu Shiqing's, was actually a man. It was a cross-dresser. If not for his X-ray vision, he would not have been able to tell. Just now, he had been fantasizing for a long time. Thinking back, it was really disgusting. Before this, Wang Howren had met a main character who was a transvestite. That had already made him feel very disgusted. However, the crossdresser in front of him was several times more disgusting. In the male genre of light novels, there was no lack of crossdresser protagonists. Wang Howren's heart moved and immediately contacted the system to check. Main character, Ling Nanshu, combat strength, 65, charm, 383. Main character aura, 4879, skill golden finger crossdresser system. When crossdressing, you can obtain points when you receive the favor and confession of a male character. Points can be used to directly increase your charm and unlock various abilities. Note 1. The more attractive the male character, the more points you will obtain. Note 2. The upper limit of the charm that the system can increase is 999. When the charm reaches 999, both men and women will be attracted. You can easily obtain the favor and trust of both male and female characters. Under normal circumstances, the success rate of wooing a female character when cross-dressing is 100%. The success rate of wooing a male character when cross-dressing is 100%. Currently unlocked abilities. Voice changing can imitate any type of female voice. Classical dance skill, max level. Currently unlocked ability. X-ray vision, current unlocked progress, 1%. Some information quickly appeared in Wang Howren's mind. The numbness in his scalp kept attacking him. Just now, before he activated his X-ray vision, he had thought that Ling Nanshu was the female lead and had really had strange thoughts. To a certain extent, this should be considered favor, right? And Ling Nanshu had also obtained points from him because of this. Moreover, these points should not be low. After all, he was good-looking enough, and the points obtained by the crossdresser system were proportional to his looks. In other words, he had been taking advantage of the main character all day long, but unexpectedly, the main character had taken advantage of him today. How infuriating! Wang Howren had the urge to give Ling Nanshu a physical exorcism to appease his resentment. However, this thought was quickly extinguished in less than a second. This cross-dressing big shot Ling Nanshu's plot armor was not low. It was close to 5,000 points. It was a very fat sheep and provided a lot of wool. It wouldn't be worth it if he directly released her soul. The villain point was what he urgently needed at the moment. Of course, he had to pay more attention to keeping the wool. After all, Ling Nanshu was unlocking his X-ray vision. Wang Howren didn't want any other man to have this ability other than himself. If there were any, they would all be killed. However, Ling Nanshu's progress was only at 1%. It was still far away. To be more precise, his X-ray vision would never be unlocked. If Ling Nanshu wanted to accumulate points, he had to fulfill one condition. As long as he couldn't show off in women's clothing in front of others, he wouldn't be able to get any points. Solving this problem was simply too easy. Jiang Gaoxian had taken a few days off. He should have rested enough, right? As he was thinking about this, he suddenly felt someone gently patting his arm. Wang Howren tilted his head slightly and looked at Lu Yin, who was staring at him with her watery eyes. That girl is really pretty. As Lu Yin spoke, she glanced at the classic beauty in traditional Chinese clothing in the distance. Her heart was completely focused on Wang Howren, so her attention was always on him. Wang Howren had been staring blankly in one direction for so long that she naturally sensed something. That was why Lu Yin said this. She didn't sound angry at all. She just sounded a little jealous. Pretty my ass. Wang Howren only felt disgusted. He didn't think it was pretty at all. Lu Yin didn't know what he meant. She just thought that Wang Howren was afraid that she would be angry. So he said this. A magnanimous smile appeared on her delicate and slightly rosy face. She said, "I'm sorry. If you like to look, just look. I won't blame you. If you want that girl's social media account, I can even get it for you. After all, girls don't keep their guard up against other girls. My chances of getting her contact information should be higher than yours, right?" Her voice was gentle and gentle. She didn't sound like she was joking. Wang Howren could tell that she was serious. He was stunned for a few seconds. Then he sighed. Was this the benefit of having a good impression of him? She was obviously jealous, but in order to please him, she still wanted to help her boyfriend hit on other girls. She was really so sensible that it made his heart ache. However, Lu Yin had misunderstood. I'm really not interested in that guy. Don't think too much. Wang Haoran didn't expose Ling Nanshu as a cross-dresser. After all, Ling Nanshu really looked like a woman. If he exposed Ling Nanshu as a cross-dresser, how would he explain it to Lu Yin? Say that he had X-ray vision? Of course not. Or that he knew Ling Nanshu. That was even more ridiculous. He was from another school. How could he be more familiar with the people in the Academy of Arts than Lu Yin? To save himself the trouble, it was best to pretend that he didn't know. I'm serious. I'm not joking. Lu Yin pursed her lips and looked serious. I'm serious too, Wang Haoran emphasized. Okay. Lu Yin's pretty face broke into a smile. Her cheeks were flushed, because she felt that Wang Haoran was telling the truth. In fact, it was true. As they talked, Ling Nanshu, the cross-dresser, was immersed in the joy of accumulating points. This was a crowded place. Moreover, this was the Academy of Arts. Naturally, there were many handsome guys. He was dressed in traditional Chinese clothing. When he stood in the square, he attracted the attention of many boys. They sized him up, admired him, and even coveted him. Hence, his points kept increasing. However, the points gained from simply standing there were very limited. Ling Nanshu was happy for a while. Then he calmed down. If he relied on standing on the street to gain points, it would take at least a month or two to unlock his X-ray vision. If he wanted to gain more points, he had to show off his good looks. No, to put it nicely, he had to perform on stage. He just so happened to have a performance in today's performance, and that was to perform a classical dance. Then, he would definitely be able to gain more points. The progress of unlocking his X-ray vision would be much faster. However, there was still some time before the performance. There was no point in standing on the street. After thinking for a while, Ling Nanshu decided to flirt with a guy. Her gaze turned and scanned the surroundings. She was choosing a male target. He glanced at those who were average-looking. He wanted to flirt with those who were extremely handsome. Chapter 487. Ling Nanshu looked around and quickly found his target. However, a wave of displeasure rose in his heart. Wasn't this guy too handsome? Ling Nanshu muttered to himself. At the same time, he noticed the pretty girl beside the handsome guy. He knew that girl. Or rather, every student in the Academy of Arts knew that girl. The reason was that this beautiful girl was the only campus belle recognized by the Academy of Arts, Lu Yin. In a place like the Academy of Arts where beauties were as common as clouds, Lu Yin stood out from the crowd and was recognized as the most beautiful girl in the Academy of Arts. It was no exaggeration to say that Lu Yin was the dream girl of 90% of the boys in the Academy of Arts. Ling Nanshu was one of them. While he was thinking, Ling Nanshu saw Lu Yin and the handsome guy whispering to each other intimately. A sense of jealousy rose in Ling Nanshu's heart. Judging from their behavior and Lu Yin's expression, they seemed to be a couple. The beauty of the Academy of Arts, Lu Yin, had a boyfriend? Ding! The host has damaged the protagonist Ling Nanshu's mentality. Obtained 800 villain points. Ling Nanshu's protagonist aura -40. Host's villain aura +40. Ling Nanshu felt like breaking down. However, he quickly calmed himself down. There had been no news of Lu Yin having a boyfriend. Ling Nanshu was certain that Lu Yin had just found a boyfriend. Their intimacy was limited. At most, they would hold hands or kiss a few times. Ling Nanshu could completely accept this. Let's steal her. Ling Nanshu did as he was told. He casually walked in the direction of Lu Yin and her boyfriend. Soon, Ling Nanshu was a few meters away from Lu Yin and Wang Haoran. Ling Nanshu slowed down and pretended to be passing by, brushing past Wang Haoran. Oh my! The pretty girl exclaimed. Ling Nanshu pretended to stumble, as if he was about to fall. He was hoping that this handsome guy would quickly reach out and help him up. That's right, the way he waved his hoe to poach her was not to seduce Lu Yin, but to seduce Wang Haoran. Ling Nanshu was not stupid. He would definitely choose to use his greatest advantage. Dressed as a boy, he was just a little handsome. In the art academy where there were many handsome guys, he was not particularly outstanding. Ling Nanshu knew that compared to Lu Yin's boyfriend, he was a far cry from him. If so, how could he seduce Lu Yin? However, it wasn't the case when he was cross-dressing. In female clothing, Ling Nanshu's attractiveness increased exponentially. His looks, figure, and temperament were enough to compete with Liu Yan. He was even more outstanding than Liu Yan in terms of figure. Of course, the reason for this was because Ling Nanshu had deliberately shaped her curves to be as exaggerated as a pomelo. To put it bluntly, it was completely supported by props. Whether the curve was smooth or steep depended on what Ling Nanshu wanted to use to support himself. As a guy, Ling Nanshu knew how attractive a girl's curves were to men. With this, Ling Nanshu had reason to believe that he was more charming than Liu Yan. However, what puzzled Ling Nanshu was that when he pretended to fall, the boy only glanced at him indifferently and had no intention of reaching out to help him. In this emergency, Ling Nanshu could not think too much. He could only pretend that he suddenly steadied himself and stopped stumbling. When he straightened his body, Ling Nanshu deliberately puffed out his chest in front of the handsome guy. Strange. Ling Nanshu was bewildered. Why did this handsome guy's expression not change? Was it because Liu Yan was present? Yes, that must be it. No guy could resist the attraction of a pomelo. Moreover, there was the bonus of good looks. However, after thinking for a while, he realized that he was wrong. If this handsome guy was pretending not to be interested in him, he could at least receive some points. However, after showing off for a while, she did not receive any points from the handsome guy in front of her. Ling Nanshu was puzzled. Pretty girl, are you from our school? Why haven't I seen you before? Wang Haoren's face was cold, but Liu Yan asked curiously. Logically speaking, such a pretty girl could not be unknown in the school. I'm a new student who just transferred here, Ling Nanshu said in a sweet and feminine voice. Oh, I see. Liu Yan was enlightened and asked, I'm Liu Yan. What's your name? Ling Nanshu. He said his name directly. The Academy of Arts was quite big and there were many students. He was not famous, so Liu Yan would not know him. His real name sounded like a girl's. It's a nice name, Liu Yan praised. Your name is nice too, Ling Nanshu replied. Then he glanced at the expressionless Wang Haoren and asked Liu Yan, What's the matter? Is this your boyfriend? Yes. Liu Yan looked as if she was showing off. She held the arm of the person beside her and swung it a few times. As she swung her arm, it rubbed against a plump body and even deformed it. Ling Nanshu saw this, and jealousy rose in his heart like a tidal wave. Ding! Host caused Ling Nanshu's mentality to be damaged. Received 800 villain points. Ling Nanshu's protagonist aura -40. Host's villain aura +40. Wang Haoren looked at Ling Nanshu silently. He did not speak, but he really wanted to punch this crossdresser in the face. But there were too many people here, and it was not convenient for him to do so. Also, Ling Nanshu could not take a punch from him, because if he took a punch, he would definitely die. This went against Wang Haoren's idea of taking advantage of him. When Wang Haoren suddenly received a system message, he was stunned for a moment. However, he quickly realized why. Wang Haoren suddenly broke free from Liu Yan's arm and put on her shoulder. He openly demonstrated his perverted hand. Ding! Host caused Ling Nanshu's mentality to be damaged. Received 1,200 villain points. Ling Nanshu's protagonist aura -60. Host's villain aura +60. Ling Nanshu's eyes almost popped out of their sockets. He felt so uncomfortable that he could not breathe for a moment. This person was too much in front of so many people. He was not human. Ling Nanshu criticized him in his heart from the perspective of justice. But even though he was criticizing Wang Haoren, he really wanted to switch places with Wang Haoren and experience it for himself. But Ling Nanshu also knew that this was just his imagination. Ling Nanshu opened his mouth and wanted to scold Wang Haoren, but he realized that he did not have a good reason. After all, they were a couple. What did it have to do with him? However, Ling Nanshu was so angry that he could only hope that Liu Yan would slap her boyfriend in anger. After all, her boyfriend was really disrespectful. But after a few seconds, Ling Nanshu was shocked. Liu Yan pursed her rosy lips tightly as her eyes rippled with tears. Where's the slightest bit of anger and blame? Ling Nanshu only felt that his heart was blocked. Ding! Host caused Ling Nanchu's mentality to be damaged. Received 800 villain points. Ling Nanchu's protagonist aura -40. Host villain aura +40. Chapter 488. The more Ling Nanchu looked at her, the angrier he got. Finally, he looked away. But in his heart, he was thinking about something. He had planned to unlock his X-ray vision as soon as possible. But now he had changed his mind. He desperately wanted to increase his charm to 999 as soon as possible. In this way, Lu Yan's boyfriend would not be able to resist his charm. Lu Yan's boyfriend did not look like a straight man. Even if he was a straight man, he would turn gay by himself at that time. Of course, Ling Nanchu was not gay. He just wanted to use this method to make Lu Yan's boyfriend lose interest in women. Then, he would not like Lu Yan anymore. Once Lu Yan broke up with him, he would be able to take advantage of her. But to increase his charm to 999, he would need a lot of points. It would take a long time, but it all depended on effort. Ling Nanchu was full of energy. With that thought in mind, he began to look forward to the performance as soon as possible. Suddenly, he heard Lu Yan's grunt. Ling Nanchu did not need to look to know that it was a heart-wrenching scene. So, he decided not to look. Without looking sideways, he walked away. Wang Haoren watched Ling Nanchu leave. He stopped and said to Lu Yan, "In the future, stay away from that boy. It's best if you don't even talk to him." "Guy." Lu Yan's cheeks were flushed red, and there was a charming light in her eyes that had yet to dissipate. She looked at Wang Haoren in surprise. "Didn't you notice that Guy has an Adam's apple? It's not a guy, it's a guy." Wang Haoren found a suitable reason to expose Ling Nanchu's gender. "I didn't notice it just now." Lu Yan was startled. Her attention was all on him. Plus, he was up to no good. How could she be in the mood to look at others? "Just remember what I said, understand?" Wang Haoren reminded her. I'll stay away from him when I see him." Lu Yan nodded obediently. Judging from Ling Nanchu's outfit, he should be performing on stage. "Do you know the schedule for the performance?" Wang Haoren went straight to the point. He already knew that Ling Nanchu had the cross-dressing Big Boss system. He also knew that Ling Nanchu would be able to earn points while cross-dressing. There would be so many people watching the performance later. Ling Nanchu would definitely gain a lot of points. This kind of thing, Wang Haoren naturally had to nip it in the bud. Ling Nanchu must not be allowed to perform on stage. There were many ways to stop Ling Nanchu from going on stage. The most direct method was to use vital energy to knock Ling Nanchu unconscious without anyone noticing. However, Wang Haoren had an excellent plan to deal with Ling Nanchu. The idea of knocking Ling Nanchu unconscious was just a backup plan. However, in order to carry out this excellent plan, he needed some time to prepare. Now that the performance was about to start, if Ling Nanchu's performance was one of the first few, this perfect plan would not be able to be realized. This was also the reason why Wang Haoren wanted to know the program schedule for the joint performance. "I really don't know. Originally, I was also recommended to go up and perform a show, but I was not in a good mood, so I rejected it. So I did not come across any relevant information," Lu Yan replied. Then she seemed to have thought of something and said, "Zhuo Xiao is one of the hosts of the performance. She definitely knows the program schedule." Zhuo Xiao. If Lu Yan had not mentioned this person, Wang Haoren would have almost forgotten about her. This Zhuo Xiao was also a villain. Previously, she was especially against Lu Yan. In order to please Wang Haoren, she even took the initiative to trick Lu Yan. At that time, Wang Haoren was called to the hotel by Zhuo Xiao. After learning about the situation, he almost left, but in the end, he stayed. At first, he was a little regretful that he had used the unlimited pushing Halo trial card, which was worth 60,000 villain points. But soon he felt relieved. Although he could not say that it was worth it, at least he did not feel that he had made a loss. After all, it was the first time he had filled up the favorability of a female lead without any effort. One should know that excluding Lu Yan, currently, the female lead with the highest favorability was only Qin Yunhan's 99. And for this 99 favorability, Wang Haoren had put in a lot of effort. "Is Zhuo Xiao still against you?" Wang Haoren came back to his senses and asked Lu Yan. "She wouldn't dare. Now she calls me Big Sister Lu Yan. Don't mention how respectful she is. Lu Yan covered her mouth and smiled. This is all thanks to you. She and Zhuxiu lived in the same dormitory. In the past, Zhuxiu used to bully her, but she always tolerated it. But ever since she got together with Wang Haoran, Zhuxiu did not dare to bully her anymore. Instead, she always tried to please her. That's good. Wang Haoran smiled at Lu Yan. Then he took out his phone and dialed Zhuxiu's number. Young Master Wang, what can I do for you? Zhuxiu was reading the host script. When she saw the caller ID, she immediately said excitedly. She naturally knew that this young Master Wang had no interest in her. Something must have happened for him to suddenly call her. And if she helped young Master Wang, she could get a handsome reward. Where's a suitable place to talk? I have something to talk to you about, Wang Haoran said. Come to the dance department building. There's a flower bed in front of the building. The lights in the flower bed are broken and haven't been fixed yet. It's dark and easy to talk. Zhuxiu knew that Wang Haoran was probably going to do something bad, so she immediately set a place where they could not be disturbed. Okay, let's meet there. Right away. Wang Haoran went to the dance department to listen to Lu Yan's class last time, so he went there and knew where the building was. After hanging up, he said to Lu Yan, I'll be going for a while. I'll be right back. Okay. Lu Yan did not ask any more questions and just nodded obediently. Wang Haoran left the square and walked towards the dance department building. At the flower bed in front of the building, he saw Zhuxiu. Zhuxiu was panting. She was obviously afraid that she would delay Wang Haoran's matter, so she rushed over. In your school's art performance, there's a classical dancer, Ling Nanshu. Do you know the specific time of his performance? Wang Haoran immediately asked. The reason why Wang Haoran thought that Ling Nanshu was performing a classical dance was because when he was checking Ling Nanshu's information, he saw that Ling Nanshu's classical dance skills were maxed out, and he was wearing a traditional Chinese costume. Zhuxiu had already caught her breath. When she heard Wang Haoran's question, she immediately replied, This performance is the finale. As a host, other than memorizing the host script, she also had to remember the order of the performance. This was because when she went on stage to host, she had to go completely off script. If she could not remember this, she would not be able to host successfully. After all, this was an art department. The requirements for the various roles of the art performance were much higher than those of other schools. Zhuxiu could become one of the hosts of the art performance partly because of her connections, but she was still capable. Chapter 489. The Finale. As expected of the main character. Was this tailor-made? Wang Haoran laughed mockingly, then continued to ask, When does the joint performance start? How long will it last? It starts at 20 o'clock and lasts for 2 hours. Zhuxiu replied. Wang Haoran looked at the time. It was only 7:40 o'clock. In terms of time, there was still plenty of time. He could definitely make it. Wang Haoran continued to discuss some details with Zhuxiu. After a while, Zhuxiu left. Wang Haoran took out his phone and immediately made a call. I've been your girlfriend for so many days, and you only just remembered to ask me out? Tell me, where do you want to go? After the call went through, Zhuxiu Qinyu's lazy voice with a hint of jealousy came through. Next time. I'm busy, Wang Haoran said regretfully. Looks like you're very busy. Can I make an appointment? Zhuxiu Qinyu could not help but feel a little resentful. Of course, she understood that Wang Haoran had more than one girlfriend. She was already prepared. Ever since she agreed to be Wang Haoran's girlfriend that day, Zhuxiu Qinyu had been looking forward to this guy asking her out. Although she was almost 25 years old, she had never experienced what it was like to be in a relationship. Naturally, she had to experience it properly. However, after waiting for so many days, she did not receive any news. Now, this guy finally made a phone call, and it was for something else. What kind of service do you want to make an appointment for? Shopping, watching movies, and eating are all full. If you want to go to a hotel to discuss life's ideals, there's still some vacancies. Do you want to make an appointment for this service? Wang Haoran teased. Zhuxiu Qinyu was looking forward to it, but after hearing Wang Haoran's words, she immediately wanted to say, Go to hell. Although she had prepared for this, she should at least have some sense of ceremony, right? At the very least, she should go through a series of conversations on the phone, shopping, watching movies, and eating. After a year and a half, she should reach that stage. Otherwise, wouldn't it be too casual? Although she really wanted to curse, Zhuqiu Qinyu held back. This guy was right. His business was already busy, and he had become his business partner. Although they hadn't started any business interaction yet, he was still considered a business partner. What if she angered him and he wanted to terminate the cooperation with her? Where would she go to cry then? After adjusting her mood, Zhuqiu Qinyu said, "Why are you looking for me? Are you fixing people again?" Since it was not the two's business, then it must be something else. After all, there was a precedent. So how could Zhuqiu Qinyu not have guessed it? You have so many underlings, there must be a lot of capable people, right? Wang Haoren put away his teasing thoughts and went straight to the point. Capable people with special abilities. Zhuqiu Qinyu felt that he had said it very elegantly and could not help but laugh. What kind of capable people are they? A fencing enthusiast. Wang Haoren's words were solemn, but his tone was extremely strange. After Zhuqiu Qinyu heard this, she was stunned for a while. Only then did she realize the true meaning of these words. She chuckled a few times and seriously replied, "Yes." Although she did not understand what Wang Haoren wanted to do, she could feel that Wang Haoren was very useful. "How many?" Wang Haoren asked. "How many do you want?" Zhuqiu Qinyu asked in return. "It seems like there are quite a few." Wang Haoren was shocked and said, "Then pick 10 elites. Go gather them immediately. I will send you the location in a while and have them gather at the destination." "Okay," Zhuqiu Qinyu responded and took off the mask on her face. She casually pulled a tissue to wipe her beautiful face and left the office to gather people. Wang Haoren ended the call with Zhuqiu Qinyu and returned to the square. As the time for the performance approached, the square became more and more lively. The surroundings were filled with voices. Almost all of the thousands of students from the Academy of Arts were gathered here. The students sat in their classes and waited for the performance to begin. Lu Yin and Wang Haoren sat next to each other on a stool. Lu Yin's classmates and class counselor looked at them strangely. The counselor saw that Wang Haoren was unfamiliar and knew that he was not from the class and wanted to expel him. But before the counselor could say anything, he saw the car key on Wang Haoren's waist. The Pagani logo on it was shocking. The counselor did not dare to say anything and pretended that he did not see anything. Not long after, the host, Zhuqiu, and another male host appeared on the stage. After the opening remarks, the performance officially began. After all, it was a professional place. The Academy of Arts performance was still worth watching. There were people playing all kinds of instruments, dancing, singing. Wang Haoren watched for a while and was quite interested. In fact, the main reason was that his vision was much wider and clearer than ordinary people's. He could see what others could not see. Of course, when the boys went on stage to perform, Wang Haoren did not watch. Instead, he interacted with Lu Yin to relieve the boredom. As the performance went on, an hour and a half passed. It was not long before Ling Nanshu went on stage. Backstage, Ling Nanshu was waiting. He even symbolically performed a dance as a warm-up. The boys who were also waiting backstage to perform were all staring at the scene. These boys were all curious. Who is this beauty? Why had they not seen her before? Some boys even went up to her and asked for her name. Ling Nanshu did not answer. She just smiled and looked at the boys seductively. She shook her head slightly, indicating that she would not say anything. The boy was extremely disappointed, but he still looked at Ling Nanshu with a fervent gaze. His boiling blood showed no signs of cooling down. Ling Nanshu gained some points and was secretly happy. As a boy, he knew boys very well. When they were serious, they were stronger than girls. In terms of appearance, Ling Nanshu looked no different from a girl. From this, it could be seen how powerful the killing power was. The boys who were waiting backstage to perform were all distracted by Ling Nanshu. Ling Nanshu was a little addicted to this feeling. But what made him even happier was that he had gained a lot of points. But he still felt that it was not enough, because these points could only increase his charm by a few points. But it did not matter. After performing a graceful dance in front of everyone, he would get a lot of points. At least it could increase his charm by 100 or 200 points, right? Ling Nanshu thought to himself excitedly. Ling Nanshu, Help me to buy a box of fried noodles from the have-a-hand snack shop outside the school. Zhuxiu suddenly walked over and said coldly. Ling Nanchu's thoughts were interrupted, and he frowned. But he was afraid that Zhuxiu was a backdoor entrant, so he did not dare to reject her. Instead, he said tactfully, "There are 5 more performances before it's my turn. You'd better ask someone else to do it. There are at least 20 more minutes. You can definitely make it. Come back quickly." Zhuxiu looked at the time and insisted. "After my performance, I'll buy it for you." Ling Nanchu planned to stall for time. After the performance, he would run away. "If you don't buy it, don't think about going on stage," Zhuxiu said coldly. Ling Nanchu was unhappy, but he did not dare to fall out with Zhuxiu, because this backdoor entrant could really make it impossible for him to go on stage. In order to train the students' abilities, all the people in charge of the cultural performance were students. As the host, Zhuxiu was in control of the overall situation. She could find a reason to cancel his performance. "Okay, I'll go now." Ling Nanchu sulked and agreed helplessly. There was a small road outside the school. It took about 8 minutes to go back and forth. The have-a-hand snack shop was famous for its fast delivery. Many students patronized it. Ling Nanchu had been there many times. A box of fried noodles was ready in 5 minutes at most. He calculated that he would be back in 13 minutes. He could still make it. However, Ling Nanchu was puzzled. There were many people backstage. Why did Zhuxiu order him to go? He did not have a grudge against her, right? Did she think that he was prettier than her? Was that why she wanted to find trouble with him? Time was tight. Ling Nanchu did not have time to think too much. He hurried along the quiet road and ran towards the snack shop outside the school. Halfway there, when he passed by the corner of a building, he suddenly bumped into a wall. "Ouch!" Ling Nanchu cried out in surprise and fell to the ground. Perhaps he was used to pretending, but he subconsciously let out a sweet female voice. In pain, he looked up and realized that he had not bumped into a wall. Instead, he had bumped into a burly man. He saw that the burly man's eyes were glowing with a green light. He was sizing him up. No, to be more precise, there were 10 strong men who were like iron towers sizing him up. Moreover, they surrounded him and forced him into a corner. "Brothers, I'm a man." "A man," Ling Nanchu said in his original male voice. However, when the burly men heard him, they did not stop or retreat. Instead, they smiled even more excitedly. In Ling Nanchu's helpless and panicked eyes, the black, muscular figures enlarged, and enlarged again.